What's going on, everyone? We're a few days away, but happy Thanksgiving to each and every one of you out there. This is your special Thanksgiving 2024 edition of the Don, Tony, and Kevin Castle Show. The date is Sunday, November 24th, 2024. I am Don Tony, so he must be.
Kev Castle. What's up, DT? What's up, everybody?
I'm kind of taken back how fast this year has gone by. I mean, when you listen, obviously WrestleMania doesn't feel like it happened yesterday, but to think that we're already closing out 2024 and we have the Royal Rumble on the horizon. Survivor Series is next week, obviously, but it's kind of crazy to think that almost an entire year has gone by this fast. It just seems like as we get older, the years go even faster,
Yeah, no, they go by really, really quick now. I mean, it's someone just reminded me. It was like, I was there. It was a big part of it's the reason I have the surname. It's like this week's the 22-year anniversary to close into Castle Heights, your old club, right? I'm like, yeah, yeah. And today was actually the big hardcore show, the final show. Yeah, I forgot. I was like, yeah, I'll write something during the week. I was like, I thanks for reminding me. And then other people were tagging me on Facebook, like, I remember where I was on this day, and I'm like, oh, how come you didn't make say? I go, kind of be honest with you, I kind of flew by. I forgot it was near the end of the month.
Yeah.
It flew by, and so yeah, it's just and it seems like lately, and not to bring this down, I already explained this on the show on Monday. But it seems like every couple of days or every week, I'm writing a memorial, a tribute, a few paragraphs in memory of somebody or of something or an anniversary. It's become almost like daily. I have to come up with something, profound to write, either like
Yeah.
again about somebody or something, because that's all. A lot of people always say too, reminiscing or talking about the past is like the least relevant type of conversation. Like
Yeah.
it's like always dipping back to the past. But I think a lot of people, DT, and I'm not saying everybody, but you see this, and it's not just the election. I just think it's modern day. I think until you get to a certain age, you kind of the reflection thing just kicks in when you're middle
Yeah.
aged. It just does. It's not like, oh, the old everything. You and me know you yourself had some during the 80s, had some bad times. So did I. Not everything was roses during the 80s and 90s for either one of us.
Yeah.
But I think it's just there was so much life to live from that point. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And now we're at that
Absolutely.
upper mid tier. So like some people are snarking like everyone's always reminiscent about the past. I'm like, how old are you? 35. I'm like, you'll understand it when you're 55. You'll
Yeah.
get it more.
You
You
know,
will.
I
Yeah.
I mentioned this on Patreon Tuesday, and I have not made it public, but I will do now. And this is kind of crazy. You'll be surprised when you hear this. This Thursday is Thanksgiving, and this Thursday, my dad's store is going to be open from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. And when
Okay.
the doors close at 1 p.m., so does the business.
Oh
The
no, really?
Yeah, my dad's store, after it was open in 1982, they're
Hmm.
closing down, and the business has been sold. And December 1st,
Wow.
it'll be reopened under new owners. My brother is leaving. My father is retired. I mean, when we
Wow.
talk about the economy and stuff like that, we aren't like privileged Italians that, we're just like complaining about elevated food prices. You walk into my brother's store and I get a tiny little bit of mozzarella cheese for my wife and it's $7.40. I'm like, what the fuck? I mean, it's
Yeah.
just it got too crazy out of control. And the sad thing about it was I was telling my father, I'm like, look, I didn't vote, in the election for president, but I know my dad did. I said, why don't you wait a few months and see what happens with Trump? Maybe
Hmm.
the cost will come down. He's like, it's way beyond that. So I can only imagine what kind of debt that deli had brought in. But yeah,
Wow.
this Thanksgiving's gonna be a little strange. A little strange.
So it's open for 42 years.
42 years. Yep, it is
Wow. And you worked
closing.
there when you were a kid. You worked there, right? And
I
everything.
worked there. Believe it or not, I was there for the first day. And,
Right.
I tell you what's interesting is I do remember that first day. And my father had never owned his own supermarket before. I mean, he was a manager for Scotoro's in Ridgewood, Queens.
Hmm.
on Knickerbocker Avenue. But the thing is that when my father opened the store, he wanted to have like an Italian flavor to it. Apparently, the deli that was open before it was called All Star Deli, and it was owned by a couple of Pakistanis. And not trying
Wow.
to get racial, but you look up
Huh.
Howard Beach in the 1980s. Pakistanis were really not, very popular as far as business goes.
Right.
So, he had my mom frying up like fried eggplants at home, and she was making lasagna, and they was selling it like on the counter with like regular stuff. And
Hmm.
it was pretty surreal. I worked there full time from the latter part of the 80s until the early 90s, and then I
Okay.
left and started working in the office environment, and I never came back.
But it
Mm.
was a family business in the aspect of your dad and your brother.
Yeah, it was. Well, when it
And they
originally opened in 82, it was my dad and my uncle. That's why they
okay.
called it brothers. But they had a big falling out.
Oh,
My uncle went to Florida, and we didn't talk to him till the day he died. We talked to some of his family,
oh
but
wow.
they had that much of a hatred that my uncle would not talk to any of us. And once he passed away, like the families got back together and close. But it was just something that was just really, really out of control. But my brother got involved in the business, I would say in the mid 90s, and he was there ever since. But
Wow.
it's too much work. They get up at like 4 o'clock in the morning and they drive to the
Oh
farms
yeah.
in Jersey just to get produce at a decent price to sell there. It's just got really too out of control. And I think the worst part about it was when COVID hit. I'm getting a little too personal with this, but I'll tell this quick story. When COVID hit, they were giving out these low interest loans to businesses to try to help keep them afloat. And my dad's store qualified and they got a loan and everything. And, about maybe a month and a half ago, I heard my brother on the phone arguing with SBA, the Small Business Association. And
Right.
what I found out was he did not know that when he signed off on the loan in 2021 that he personally guaranteed it. So
Oh
now my
boy.
brother's on the shelf for God knows how much money that's still owed.
Well, could I ask? I'm going to take a guess that it
No.
wasn't. Was it Italians who took over the business, who bought out
Yeah, yeah,
your
yeah.
family?
Italians took it over the
Oh, it was
business.
Italian. So it's going to keep the traditional kind of flavor of the place, even if they
Yeah,
change
I
the name.
think so. I think so. They're going to try to put an influx of different items. I mean, they probably have their thoughts of what they can do to bring more people in. I personally think you got to go back to kind of the roots. You got to put the necessities in there. Like you can't
Yeah.
just have like a lot of Italian based products because a lot of it's imported. And you might have to bring in like lower budget food products just to keep the prices down.
And as in that neighborhood has also changed
Oh, it's
in
changed a
years, right?
lot. Oh boy,
Yeah.
it's changed a
So you
lot.
gotta cater like back in the 80s and 90s, it was like a predominant Italian
Yeah.
clientele, but now it's probably minority would be Italian
It's
patrons,
probably
right?
50% Italian, but that's only
50%. Wow.
changed over the last 10 years, I would say. Because I have
Wow.
my
Yeah.
insurance office since 1998. So I've watched it go through. And, I know this sounds nuts, but how I've monitored the neighborhood was just looking out my window and seeing the people that are walking by. And usually the people that would walk by are, elderly people that are shopping on the boulevard and students and, people who worked on the boulevard. Now you see all different races, walking up
Yeah.
and down. You see, lot just even different businesses. I mean, there's a Korean place that opened up. The Jamaican places opened up. It's changing quite a bit, but just yeah. I mean, my dad's business in 1 week, not even. It will be history after 42 years.
Now you kept this under the table, so to speak, close to the vest. You knew about this, or this was a surprise to you?
I knew about it for about a month now. I knew,
Okay.
and month and a half because I had to talk with my dad a month and a half ago, trying to tell him, look, let's see what happens in the election. And then
Yeah.
a couple of weeks ago when Trump won, I said, why don't you wait and see, how he handles, the taxes and
Economy. Yeah.
regulation. And he's like, it's beyond that. So
Wow.
it
So
is what
even
it
on the show,
is. But. Still,
And your father's earned his retirement. I mean, your dad's what,
yeah.
mid 70s now?
My father is 75. 75. He'll be
Yeah.
76. He'll be 76 January 6th.
So it's almost yeah, it's almost like, right in the wheelhouse of an ending for a time where you can still enjoy. Your brother has kids and stuff, so he's grandkids and everything,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
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 So I mean, yeah, there's a lot to enjoy. So
Sure.
I mean,
Sure. But
and your brother, I'm sure, will be fine, right? Your brother
yeah,
probably
he'll
will
be fine. He's
go into
involved in
another.
other, real estate deals and stuff. I think he'll be fine. And the good thing is, as far as us goes, Don Tony and Kevin Castle's show is only going to get stronger in 2025. We ain't
That's
going
right.
nowhere, everyone. We're not going
We
nowhere.
might even lower our prices on the prosciutto.
I know,
We
right?
might. Exactly.
Well, we're up here on a Sunday night. Obviously, any topics are on the table, everyone. For those who are live, you're the ones that set the table as far as what we talk about. We always do a little intro just to get a little bit of a vibe, but whatever you guys want to talk about, we'll get into. How long we go will be really up to everybody out there. And big shout out to everyone who sent in super chats even before we went live.
Yes, thank
Allowed
you.
me to do a little research. And again, it's never required, everyone, but we don't have sponsors. So, memberships and Patreon and the t-shirts and, super chat, it all keeps us alive and helps us grow. But
Absolutely.
I want to open up with a question. I was originally going to open up with the Bobby Lashley controversy from last night's media scrum, but somebody sent this in right before we went live, and it really got me thinking to something from a few weeks ago. And I think it's probably appropriate to open up with since no one else is talking about this person. Ronnie sent us a 10 spot, and he said he wants our honest thoughts on Keith Lee's AEW run and if he can ever regain what he had in NXT. And before you say anything, I want to tell you a very, very quick story. About 3 or 4 weeks ago, Keith Lee went on Twitter, and Keith Lee wrote, he's like, listen, I can't thank you all for the overwhelming messages and love and support, and I can't respond to everybody's, but I just wanted to come up here. And, listen, I'm not trying to criticize Keith Lee. He was one of my favorites. At one point, he was my favorite wrestler in NXT, and that's documented on the shows. But here's the thing, and this is the thing it makes me feel bad, and this is why I did not bring it up on the DTKC show a couple of weeks ago. Keith Lee's social media footprint is Twitter. Unless he shows up in a live stream with Meechin, his social media footprint is Twitter. And Kevin and I have been on Twitter since the early days. And one thing with Twitter is you could only send a DM to Keith Lee if he's following you. All right. And I'm sure a lot of you know that. Like, a lot of our favorite wrestlers, believe me, if we could DM them simply because we're following them, they probably would be calling for cease and desist and, orders of protection. Everybody would be annoying them. So I looked at Keith Lee's Twitter profile, and he's following, I don't know, I haven't looked lately, a dozen people, 15 people. So I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, where is he getting these messages? You don't have an email address public. Nobody's sending it to his house. Nobody's sending it to him on Twitter. And I saw that and I was like, man, that just felt sad because out of nowhere, he just shows up on social media. He's like, I can't thank you all enough for the overwhelming love and the messages and the support. I can't get back to you. It was almost like he was convincing himself that he was still relevant. And a couple of weeks ago, just for the fuck of it, I don't have the exact number in front of me, but I went on his stat page to see, how much he has wrestled, from NXT to now. And over the last 2 years in AEW, if I remember correctly, he had a total of 7 singles matches. Do you want to know, in 2 years, he's had 7 singles matches in AEW. Do you want to know how many singles matches he had in NXT in 2 years?
How many?
About 120. He went from 120 singles matches to 7 in the same time period. And now
Jeez.
he's about 40, 41 years old. I mean, what's your take on Keith Lee? I mean, is he done since that heart ailment? Like to me, he's never been
Yeah.
the same ever since then.
No, he's never been the same physically, presence-wise. The talk about him is just pretty much, null and void almost. I mean, it's almost like he's a non-entity. I didn't even know he was still in the contract AEW, to be honest with you. I know more about Miro's on whereabouts than I do about Keith Lee.
Hmm.
And if he still managed to keep Misha as his wife after all this, God
I know,
bless him,
right?
because she seems to be, doing well and in a good place. Yeah, so that health thing, I think, just etched him out. I mean, a lot of great ball players. You're a baseball story, and there are a lot of players who never really, achieved what they were supposed to. Were in the big league 7, 8 years and just fizzled out due to an injury. Football players, NBA players, happens. Even actors who, something happened or an illness or affliction happening. Like, remember that guy? He's supposed to be the next Brad Pitt. Uh, yeah, no, Keith Lee's a victim of circumstances. It's nothing to mock or even make fun of. Obviously, it's sad, but it's life. I mean, it happens. Sometimes the next big thing never becomes that. The day he was with Roman Reigns in that ring, what was it, the Royal Rumble, DT? When he faced when he went
Brock
face to face
Lesnar.
with Brock Lesnar
Yeah.
years ago.
Big boy.
But we said to start the show off, time goes by so fast,
Yeah.
and it seems like yesterday. But what was that, DT? It wasn't yesterday. It was about 6, 7 years ago. How long ago was that, guys? About
Yeah,
5 or 6 years ago.
it's probably around 5 years ago because he started in NXT around 18, 19. So, and
Yeah,
he was still an unknown when he was doing the Royal Rumble spot, and then he obviously came to the main roster and did the Bearcat thing, and the thing.
it was
I just
before COVID. Yeah, it's
yeah,
about 5, 6 years. But he's also now over 40. What
yeah,
was he? He was with. He got his name in Evolve, right? Or was it Ring of
yes.
Honor? Where did he
No,
get his
I
name?
think it was
Evolve.
Evolve. I think it was Evolve.
With Gabe
Yeah,
Sapolsky was a big proponent of his, right?
yeah,
Um, yeah, it's just again, it happens. It happened. I'm sure a lot of people here can name a band or whatever's the next big thing, and then things happen in the band, addiction or afflictions, and they broke up, and a singer left. And you're like, what the fuck happened? These guys were like, winning awards last year. It just happens, and I think he was never the same, and he's over 40 now. Physically, he's always looked the same. It never looked like he really got. No, he's not obese, but he was never skinny. He's a big framed guy, and I just think there's some underlying things going on with him. I don't think he could go back to the WWE and work the WWE schedule as much as Triple H is, a good human being and accommodating and. Well, look who he's brought back, all the people he's brought back, and try to give him a second, third chance. I think Keith Lee's physically couldn't keep up with it. And
yeah,
and it's too bad that he doesn't have the. And it's funny, he's got a decent voice. If he could maybe transfer like the way Corey Graves did when his career was cut short. Does he have the gift of gab? Could he be an announcer? Could he be a trainer? I don't know if he has any of those qualities or qualifications, DT, where he could still be something in the business, like the way
yeah,
Wade Barrett is. Just find another outlet to stay in the business and be that guy. Corey Graves, Wade Barrett, you can name them all. But I don't know if Keith Lee has those qualities about him where they'll consider doing that with him, or he still thinks he should be in the ring. But you're right, DT. Now at 40 with health ailments and kind of 5 years removed from any kind of spotlight, I don't see it. If he retires, it's meant to be. And again, maybe he can help train, agent. There's other things that people can do, but besides being in the ring, wrestling is a lot of job positions. You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
and maybe he can latch onto one. But I think his in ring career never going to be. It'd be nice to see it come back, Rocky style, but I just don't see it. Not at this
yeah.
age and stage for him. I think it's not that the window's shut on him, but DT, he would have to do some serious impressing from a physical standpoint in the ring. If you get 5-star matches, just do something of note. He's just a guy. It just didn't work out for him because of things that happen beyond anybody's control. It's nobody's
He,
fault.
I think he would have to lose at least 50 pounds, maybe even more than that. I mean, just
I don't even know if that would help, DT. I don't even know if
yeah.
he would still be able to do that. You know what I mean?
Hmm. I know it's Ed.
Prolong his life,
Yeah,
prolong his life, but that doesn't mean that he's going to be, sometimes losing weight. Yeah, do you gain, do you gain more confidence and charisma all the time when you necessarily, there's been wrestlers I saw who have tremendous weight loss, didn't do anything for their career,
that's true.
who
That's
were
very
big,
true.
big people.
Yeah,
even certain actors who got skinny. When was the last time you saw Newman from Seinfeld in anything? So it's like,
That's
you know what
true.
I mean? That seriously. So it's like, yeah, good for health. Oh, yeah, blah blah blah. But career wise, you were hired as a big guy, and I think it's in like reverse for a girl like what's her name? The twerk girl, Nikita Lyons,
Oh, Nikita
who
Lyon.
was
Oh my
hired
God,
as
she's
yeah,
turned into white Nia Jax. You and I said that about a
who
month ago.
yeah,
She's
and right, and DT, it's not making fun of her. She's a nice looking woman, but she was hired as a physically fit kickboxer, not a big girl. You know what I'm saying? Not
yeah,
as Awesome Kong or whatever. That's not what they hired as. So Keith Lee coming back as, Shelton Benjamin, they're like, who's this guy? Like, and can
yeah.
he still, is the skill still there? Does he still have the power? And Keith Lee, I think, has tried, hasn't he tried, DT, to turn it around in his health wise? And I just don't know if it's
He
working for
has,
him, you
and
know?
it's just disappeared. I mean, as far as I could remember, he hasn't wrestled in a year. So
Mhm.
it makes you think, like, just retire. Seriously. I mean, go on the circuit with all the conventions, mingle with your fans, just get out and just I mean, for all we know, he could be doing a lot of stuff outside of wrestling now to keep
Yeah,
himself
he could.
busy. It's just when I saw that a couple of weeks ago, when you get that vibe that it almost sounds like you're trying to convince yourself that you're still relevant. And we're Keith Lee fans here. We're not criticizing the guy, but when that came out of nowhere and I clicked on his bio and I'm like, Keith, where are people sending you the messages? You know what I mean? Like when you
Yeah,
really think about it, it's like, it just felt like, hey guys, I just want everybody to think that, I'm almost trying to convince myself that I'm still relevant or just spark a reaction. And I don't want to feel that way with Keith Lee. He should be out there and having fun and smiling and making
if he
appearances. And
can.
if he
If he
can,
if he can. If he
yeah,
can. Like, look at like Big E, good example.
yeah,
Big E has embraced the fact that his career is not embraced it in a, "Well, this is great. My career's over in the ring." But he's accepted it, and he even told fans, "Don't feel sorry for me. I'm living a good life. I'm happy. I'm doing stuff with WWE. I'm part of the company in a different way." So maybe they can do the same thing. Maybe WWE, and maybe that's, his wife is here. He can't be happy being over there and stuck in AEW when Mishin is over here. And I think
yeah,
there's a title in Mishin's future. We talked about it, the
yes.
Intercontinental, the U.S. title, and then maybe that would make him more happy. Maybe he'd be in a better environment. Maybe that would spark something for him. He can't come out and say it, but I'm sure he's not happy in AEW. How could he be?
No, no, not at all. Well, we wish him the best, but
Yeah, all the
it's just
mhm,
sad. It's just sad the way things have ended up. So, um,
yeah,
depending on how you look on this story, depends on how sad you think this story is. This came in earlier, and listen, I know
question.
it's an interesting topic floating around. I don't know how people are gonna feel about our answers to it, but Big Daddy, and I don't know if Big Daddy is black. And he's got a picture of Ahmed Johnson in his profile, infamous
Okay,
photo. Thank you for the 20 spot. And he
thank you.
says, Happy Thanksgiving, fellas. I really want your feelings on Kate from Fightful trying to race bait Bobby Lashley and Bobby's epic response. I'm sending this early so you could watch the clip if you haven't seen it yet. Thank you. Um, I saw the clip. I saw Bobby Lashley's response. For the people that did not see it, I'll make a long story short. It was the AEW media scrum following Full Gear, and this reporter from Fightful asked Bobby Lashley, how does he feel being in AEW now, looking around and seeing all these black champions?
Yeah,
And he pretty much said to her, he's like, stop with the black champion. It's champions. Like, stop bringing up
yeah,
the black aspect of it. And, listen, my reaction is probably a little bit deeper than a lot of others out there, but this is my feelings about it. I'm not saying what Kate from Fightful said was right or if it was wrong. I think anybody that still brings up black, going at it away in 2024 has a problem or doesn't want the problem fixed. And I'll explain why I say that in a minute. Kevin and I say it all the time. We don't care if somebody's black, white, straight, gay, if their husband is their sister and their mother is their wife, or we don't care if somebody has 4 toes or 15 toes. We try to treat everybody the same. You treat us with respect, we treat you with respect. And the thing is that, you know, in 2024, I truly don't believe that WWE or AEW or TNA or anyone else is not pushing black wrestlers on a premium live event because they're black, or they're not, or they're pushing someone. And I think, and I think I might have said this 2 weeks ago. The last thing I would want, and Via Mahan is the one that sparked it. Via Mahan is pointing out that there's a big problem right now that WWE only has one Indian wrestler. And my answer was, you would want to have a job knowing that the only reason why you got it is because you're Indian? How's about you got it because you're talented? And the thing is that social media for years and years and years, even recently, have pushed the race card with wrestling repeatedly. I mean, even this year, asking Triple H, you know, how come no black singles wrestlers have been on premium live events for 6 months? So that culture has been out there. So I can't blame this girl from Fightful from asking the question, because that's what everybody has been pushing online. But I'll say this, man, I'm the wrong guy to say it because I'm a fat white Italian guy. But I can't wait for the day, and I don't know if it'll happen while I'm alive. I can't wait for the day that everybody just looks at everybody just as people, because I have said this, and it's controversial. I don't give a shit. It's just like pharmacies. If we get a cure for cancer, there's a lot of pharmaceutical companies that are out of business. All right, there's some pharmaceutical companies have been accused over the years of not coming up with cures for certain things, because if you just maintain it, you have medicine for sale for the rest of your life, and they make a steady income. The minute you resolve a problem, somebody's out of a job. And I think that people like Al Sharpton's and others want that, you know, that division and the aura that blacks are still being held down, because that's how you make money. That's how your causes make money. And, you know, the idea that everybody gets treated the same, there are people out there that do not want that because they make a living off of it. Yeah, I don't want to start getting political, but look, I just learned 3 months ago about some woman named Joy Reid, and I watch her and I'm like, holy shit, either she freaking hates white people or she is making a boatload of cash pushing this kind of style. You know what I mean? It's just, there are people out there.
She's probably going to be out of a job soon when they get rid of when they sell MSNBC to Elon Musk.
Yeah.
She's a race baiter and a fear monger, just like Al Sharpton is, just like some of these other. And DT, you could say you're a fat white Italian. First of all, you're not that fat. Second of all,
I hide it well.
So
the camera's only on my neck down.
Don't put yourself down.
I know.
Kate is a white. Kate. Everyone in the chat knows this. Kate is a white girl.
Yeah.
What's her skin in the game representing black African American men? So again, you could say that about yourself. You have as much right to say what you as a white
That's
woman.
true. That's a very good point. I didn't think of that.
Claims to white knight for the African American community, for the male sports figure. So I mean, and also some of these things are absolutely a narrative to either inject or start trouble, or to just create a little bit of a name and controversy for yourself. Because you're right, a controversy gets clicks.
Yes.
You know, as to take a little bit of a bite off Eric Bischoff's controversy creates cash. Controversy gets clicks. Everybody here knows that in the chat room. We all know it. Because that girl's insufferable. You're going to check out. Let me check out what she said, because maybe I want to leave a comment that gets some more press and publicity.
Yeah.
I'm personally blocked, I think, from. I have no use for Fightful. They have no use for us or our show or my brother or anything. They got no love for us, so I could care less about them. Say this. That to me was Bobby Lashley's a very small. So, boy, I think Kate would, if she also found out that Bobby Lashley is a Republican for most of his life. So, boy, would that hurt your feelings, your little feelings. So it wasn't a political question, but Bob is stupid. He may come up with some crazy ideas like him and Cross getting into a real fist fight so they can have injuries on themselves and push a feud. But other than that, Cross was like, Bobby, we could get fired,
Yeah, what if nobody breaks it up?
Yeah, what if nobody breaks up? But Bobby's a smart guy, and you could just see the look. Guys, look at Bobby's face when he heard that question. He wanted to maybe even say, something different, but he kept it classy. And he's like, no, I'm shutting that down pretty much, is what he said. And you could say, again, DT making an apology for being like not a person of color to make a comment, then then she should apologize too. Like, why does Bobby need to hear that from her? Would it have been better coming from, say, Alfred?
Mhm.
What was that, the Kwanzaa guy? Like someone who
Alfred
was an African
Kanoa.
American. Yeah, yeah, I can't remember. Sorry, Alfred, I can't remember your last name. But him asking the question because he's an African American man.
Right.
So I think people asking these kind of race baiting questions, you look at what their agenda is, you look at what their history is with asking. Do they really care, or is it something to just light up the room with a ooh, right, DT?
Yeah.
Like, oh shit, oh snap, like that GIF on on social media where all the black kids are jumping up and down, going shit, damn. Like it's just it's a firebomb question. It's
Yeah.
like one of those things that, because I'm sure even people sitting there, I don't think a majority DT wants to know these questions. I think it's a minority, but they chirp the loudest, so it overrides the majority.
Yeah.
But I think that most people are, I think, getting past race, the first thing, I think it's people like Morgan Freeman and Denzel Washington and people like that who are respected in all communities. Not just like, stop talking about it all the
Yeah.
time. Stop separating me from you. You know what I'm saying? Stop making it like it's, you're making more of an issue than it is. Stop talking about it in a negative connotation.
Right.
And again, offer resolve and solutions instead of, again, throwing these things back at people. I mean, there's this girl, is Fightful on the outs now or something with
Oh,
WWE
I have
that
no
they
idea. I have
have
no
these little
idea.
digs. Triple H is a race. I mean, so stupid. Look at what him and Shawn Michaels have done for people of color and NXT. Trick Williams, all the other people who are down there, what they have done. There's a lot of people of color who are focused, and that's the future of the company. So, hello, take a look at the future and stop going back into the Dick Murdoch days of the past. We were just talking about reminiscing in the past and this
Yeah.
and that. Most people reminisce in the past for good things, not looking back and going, oh, things have not changed. They have changed tremendously
Yeah.
since the days of the champions of the 70s and 80s in the territories. Tremendously. There's still work to be done, where we gain leaps and bounds when it comes to stuff like that in sports and entertainment and acting. Again, if you want to hyper focus on that, at least stop. It's so obvious of your malice and bad intent when you do it. It's not anybody who's trying to offer resolve or any kind of diplomatic solutions. It's people who want to keep the fire burning, DT, but a bad kind of fire, one that
Yeah.
spreads and causes mass casualties.
I
You know what I'm
blame it
saying?
on social media, though. I blame it on social media for pushing this narrative, and it catches on. And that question to Triple H should have never been asked. It just, and listen, I'm not blaming MVP on any of this, but this is
Mhm.
how I'm trying to understand why this even
Well, he
became a
made
topic.
he made some
Yeah,
overtures and stuff like
yeah.
that, but I don't think Bobby feels that way.
No,
I
no,
think
not at
sometimes you hang
all.
out, they hang out as like a crew and everything, but let's make no bones about it. Bobby's the star in that group,
Right.
and I think it holds a lot. No offense to MVP, Bobby's the guy. MVP's the second guy. Shelton Benjamin always seems like kind of a diplomatic guy, and Shelton has been around black athletes, white athletes, so like I don't know what MVP's deal is. I think he was just mad, as we say in the wrestling. We use this word. He has boo boo face at WWE, but I
Yeah.
think Lashley's more of a happy go lucky guy. I think Lashley is a count his blessings type of guy. Glass half full. MVP's a glass half empty guy,
Yeah.
and
I
that's
I,
just
I
that's just
agree.
the way they come off. You know what I mean, DT?
Yeah. That's why my message to MVP and others is, words do matter. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people on social media that will interpret things the wrong way. And no, he shouldn't go out there and have to clarify his comments every time he makes it. But sometimes you got to take a step back before you say something and say, okay, how are people going to interpret this? And maybe you kind of like refrain from saying certain things because of course you want your point out there, but if you're going to get a whole bunch of, whack people on social media giving this impression that, WWE's holding back black wrestlers, some people take that to heart, and then black wrestlers show up in AEW and get, push. Somebody out there says, oh, how do you feel about, hey, isn't this refreshing to see all these black wrestlers getting pushed? And, meanwhile, they're like, what are you talking about? Like,
She said, listen, I heard her say it. She didn't say it with a hostile tone,
no,
but you
like in a
get the
celebratory
underlines,
tone.
right? Get the underlines of why she asked that question and almost baiting Bobby Lashley. Again, people be like, I don't know, Kevin, it didn't sound like that. you gotta know people. You gotta read people. You gotta know what they're. And if you followed some of the things that she said, like I said, I don't even know what her knowledge is of wrestling. Probably
No,
not a lot.
I don't
Like
follow,
like
so
like,
I'm
like a
being
lot of
honest.
wrestling journalists. Again, ask her to name the 5 Von Erichs, she'll go into a tailspin. But to me, it's like I don't know what's the qualifications to get into those scrums. People even said to me, if you and DT went to those things, if we ever chose to be those kind of podcasts, those kind of guys,
No.
I wouldn't ask. I probably wouldn't ask any question. I'd probably keep my mouth shut, just listen and learn, and just read the room. And if I had a question, certainly wouldn't be anything to upset the scrum or be a dick or anything like that. I'd try and maintain myself as like someone back, having an opportunity to be in a position to be here in a room with maybe 20 people who are invited and conduct myself in the proper fashion. I'm not looking to
I'll,
get over at anybody's expense because I need more likes on my fucking
I'll
social
give
media.
everybody a message, and I know Kev will vouch for me on this. Kev and I have been doing this, I know, for 20 years. And more than that, if we
Fans
tack
for
on
45
hotlines and
years.
stuff. Yeah. But here's the point, guys. And this is not a bragging thing, and just bringing out a point that everybody should think about. To this day, we have people that are Hall of Famers, men, women, wrestlers, promoters, uh, every aspect of wrestling, and people that we haven't talked to in 5, 10 years that'll come out of woodwork and say, tuned into your show last night, loved it, keep it going. What's my point? I don't want to, and Kev for 25 years has felt the same way. We don't want to be remembered from people in wrestling for being that guy or that girl to throw the gotcha questions. We'd rather be the ones that were just having fun, showing class. We could criticize, but doing it in a respectful way. And that's how people remember. And to this day, a lot of people remember what we do because of what we do and having fun and not being that dick or that person that we're just looking for gotcha or looking for clicks, because that's what a lot of
We
people
could be
do.
dicks, but
Oh
we could
yeah,
be dicks, but we're not known
we're
for that.
professional
It's
dicks.
too much. We're professional dicks, classy
So
dicks. Oh my god.
dicks. Oh man.
We got a lot of questions, man. We got to get into more.
Yeah, Ronnie C
And thank you
said,
everybody who's sending the chats in. I see
"Oh
the
yeah,
super
it's."
chats. Thank you
And
guys.
listen, if
Rob.
you're enjoying the show, throw a thumbs up. The more we get live, the more YouTube actually recommends the show to other people who are like suffering around YouTube, maybe looking for a recommended show to tune into. So, it'll help, believe me. Ronnie C says, thank you from Ronnie. He says, proud member on Patreon and YouTube since day one. Quick question for you two. John Moxley keeps talking about AEW having a hard reset. What is AEW reset? um, I yeah, I
Have
tell
the
you,
owner sell to somebody who can reset this company. Get a GM, like a real GM, in to clean house and change everything around. That to me, that's a reset. A reset. We say the same thing in the club is, and when we do a reset, means we got rid of our sound man, we got rid of our bound security, we got new guys, we got a new bartender. That's a reset for us. So to me, a reset is getting rid of certain pieces of the puzzle and putting new pieces on the board. That's a reset to me. Or a reset is shut down, DT, right?
yeah,
For a few weeks and then reopen, like you just said, with a business grand reopening under even if it's the same name, but adding some new things to the fold to get people's attention. So when he says reset, I wonder what you're right, DT. What in his mind is a reset?
exactly. And you know what? He's doing a lot of interviews right now because he's taken over Brian Danielson's power. I would love for somebody to ask him, like, could you give a couple examples? Because so far, the only thing that I could recall him saying is that, about helping push the people at the bottom. The problem is, and again, nothing personal against this guy, but putting JD Drake out there getting chair bashed isn't a hard reset. If anything, people like, good, chair bash him. What do we care? Like beating up Chuck Taylor, that's a hard reset. Getting rid of Rampage, that's a hard reset. Getting rid of Rampage is kind of like Bobby Lashley leaving WWE. Bobby Lashley really didn't have a choice. AEW didn't really have a choice because Warner Media says, nah, we don't want Rampage anymore. You do what you want, Rampage, but we don't want Rampage anymore. So you have no choice. So I don't know what his hard reset is other than renaming the Blackpool Combat Club the fucking Death Riders. You
Yeah,
know,
I don't know. I don't know what he's
the
talking about as
slow
far as
Death
reset.
Riders. I don't know. I don't know what this hard reset is that he keeps talking about, but
Yeah, I don't know what he's talking about.
I don't, and I don't, honestly, I don't even think Tony Khan knows either, because if anybody paid close attention to that media scrum last night, he was saying that he is welcome, John Moxley's ideas for hard reset. So he sounded more like he's heard what John Moxley said, but he hasn't talked to John Moxley about it. So at the end of the day, it's the boss that's got to do the hard reset, not Moxley. So,
Yeah.
One Fall, thank you, One Fall, for the 50 pesos. Happy Thanksgiving, folks. Any thoughts on the match between AJ Boom and who dat QT Marshall? For the record, Big Justice makes the worst spear ever.
Oh,
I
is that the
watched
kid?
this.
That's the Costco cookie,
Yeah, he's the
pastrami guy.
older chubby kid.
Who's the what is the
The
Riddler?
Rizzler is the little kid.
What is a Rizzler? What does that even mean? Anybody know
It's a
what that means? I
nickname.
don't. But what is that? Where does that come from? Rizzler. What is that?
I have no idea. I wrote
Things
on
have to make sense to me, dude.
a
But
thumbnail the other day, the Rizzling shits. So, maybe that's where it comes from.
listen, I normally, don't make fun of 8 or 10-year-olds, but I'll make an exception in this role.
Well,
I just thought shout out to our friend JD from New York, who, again, I know the kid is 8 years old, but when JD on his show said, "And this kid rubbing his double chin," I just started laughing. I was like, "Oh my!" I said, "How old is this kid?" He's like 8. And I go, "Just to hear JD from New York go off on this kid was just hysterical today." Listen, again, little kids love the father. He has some ring skill. Is that his father? Right,
yeah, I
the
think
guy who's the
so.
wrestler.
I
The
hope
guy who's the
it
wrestler.
is. I hope it
I mean,
is.
well, the other thing that he said that was pretty, and I saw everyone retweeting, including my brother Draper, was that how pathetic was it that the 8-year-old and his dad, YouTube Costco people who don't have the skills and the cachet of a Bad Bunny or a Logan Paul. They're not remotely on that level, but they were more over than 99% of the AEW roster, including their quote unquote big stars. That's what set JD off and other people on their podcast who were doing reviews. My brother was like, that was pathetic because didn't correct me if I'm wrong, chat, Don Tony. Years ago when this company started AEW, they weren't going to depend on schlocky gimmicks and nonsense like this. It was the alternative to the WWE circus at the time and gimmicky, silly garbage. I mean, the fact that those two guys, an 8-year-old and his dad, not even really known for wrestling, were more over and got more spotlight time and actually did more press junket than any, that was pointed out
Yes,
too.
well,
That did
that's
more press in this tri-state area than any of the wrestlers did. I
yeah.
mean, what is that? What the
Well,
fuck? What is AEW now? I don't even know. What are they going? I say WCW circa January 2001 or AWA circa 1990 when DJ Peterson was a top guy in AEW. I don't even know if they're on that level. To be honest with you, because at least WCW still had Scott Steiner, Booker T. They had notable stars in that company. Even Ric Flair was still there. I mean, Kevin Nash. So I don't even know if saying it's WCW towards the dying days is fair because the Costco guy and his son were more. Oh, I saw the clips.
yeah.
It was kind of quiet for a lot of matches. That crowd who were wrestling, supposed to be wrestling enthusiasts and real fucking smart marks, cheered for these two guys, gimmicky dudes, over real wrestlers. What's going on, DT?
Well, I got a different take on it, and I touched on it on the news updates the last two days. I'll say some here in summary. If AEW Full Gear was not going to take place in Jersey, they wouldn't have been on it. That's first off. They are big on the Northeast. So to me,
Well, Jersey,
yeah, to me, it's similar to when TNA would have a radio DJ. I'm not talking about Bubba the Love Sponge. It would have they would go to like Nashville and like you'd have a local radio personality. You'll have like a dark match against another radio personality. They did that with Danny Bartaducci back in the day with WCW. WWE would do it periodically in the mid 90s. So to me, I didn't think it was that big of a deal. But here was my and I thought QT Marshall was the perfect person to sell because he was going to make it look like $1 million to the other two. He was the right person to put in there. I didn't
Well,
think it was bad.
he's there like Santino Marella type of
Yeah, yeah.
character, right?
But
Yeah,
here's where I had a problem with it. And I'm gonna interject Taz and Bubba Ray Dudley with this and Bully Ray. Um, they had some fun the last 2 days because Taz was like, like calling people online marks and this and that for criticizing it, more eyes to the product. And Bully Ray's like, yeah, you just got to block those people and this and that. And it's getting more eyes on the product. And yes, yes, they were on Fox Business. They were on radio. They were on a whole bunch of media. That's press that Cody Rhodes, when he was there, used to handle and others. And the fact that a couple of Costco guys ended up getting that much press for AEW, where their own wrestlers don't do that, it says a lot. And my problem with Taz and Bully Ray is this: you could turn around and criticize fans online for criticizing it, but they're missing the biggest problem here. The biggest problem is not getting more eyes on AEW. It's why are wrestling eyes for leaving AEW? So you could get a casual person to tune in for Full Gear because a Jersey Costco guy is in a match. But what happens on Wednesday when the Costco guy is not there? What happens on Friday of next week? Are they going to stick around and watch? So instead of criticizing people, they're not criticizing what went down because all promotions have done it. What they're criticizing is that they're putting more investment in a Costco guy, and the Costco guy pretty much showed everyone unintentionally that AEW promotes events like shit. Unless Tony Khan says something dumb about
yeah,
WWE, there is
yeah.
no promotion. There's nothing. And the fans don't have a problem with the Costco guys. The fans are pointing out that, yeah, getting more eyes to the product is great, but you don't want to get eyes to the product because of a Costco guy that's going to be on a pre-show. You want to get eyes on a product because of your fucking roster. And
Well,
that's
exactly, exactly, D. I'm sorry to cut you off. That was be like the first match on that card with Tyson and Jake Paul being the focal point of it. It doesn't make any sense. And also their main event was kind of weak in my opinion. I mean, their whole roster is kind of weak in my opinion. I mean, Kenny Omega, what was on the interview the other day, saying that they seem to be doing fine without me. I was like, is he? And it wasn't even sarcastic. He said that he actually meant that. They're not doing fine. Everything is not fine. There is something to see here. Doing the Kevin Bacon Animal House, all is well. Nothing is well. That company is a train wreck, and it doesn't surprise me. I called this years ago, and that's not a braggadocious way for me to say it, but I just knew it because it started out inmates running the asylum, which is never a good thing, and then the bloom came off the rose as big star after big star left. Cody strike one, CM Punk strike two, and they're just about on their third strike. And I don't give a shit if they re-upped or they got a new deal for TV. Those deals can always be canceled. You know how many major movies, guys, have been shot and never released or released straight to video over the years? You know how many fucking ball player contracts have been null and void because they failed a medical test? A lot of things that the fact that they have a deal that could be done, right, DT, at any time they could pull the plug on that. That could go 6 months and they're like, yeah, we're just going to pay out and just be done with this clusterfuck. So if anybody thinks they're guaranteed to be on television the next 3 to 5 years, you're kidding yourself. I say next year at this time, me and DT are talking about what happened to that company and the new owners, and that it's called a new name. Because if they keep going like this, they are no way going to last another year. I don't
yeah.
see it. I just don't see it. This is like the worst. This is like Happy Days season 11. Like when no one was even on. I don't even think the Fonz was on at that point anymore. There was nobody there. I think like Joni was the main for the sister was the main focal point. Roseanne season 10, like all the worst seasons of your favorite TV shows. This is it where you're like, God, cancel this fucking thing already. It's becoming painful. This isn't like a Sopranos or Seinfeld where it could go on forever and you're gonna watch it and it's cool, can't wait for what they're gonna do next. This is just physically painful. Even Ricochet, he's already a non-factor already. How long's he been there, guys? 8 weeks, 2 months.
Yeah.
So and that's funny. Sign the Costco guy. Good idea. Sign him. Give him a year contract. You'll never see him again after he fucking signs, right, DT? He'll be put on. Maybe they can have him promote shows. He could go on radio shows and be like the talking head. His son, maybe the 8-year-old, can get a contract where he does promotion for the events. So I mean, they just don't know what they're doing. I find it just ridiculous to even talk about AEW sometimes because it's
Yeah.
such a it's like me and you having a baseball podcast and talking about all the good things about the White Sox.
uh,
Seriously.
well, I thank you, one full for that. We got a couple of quick rapid fires to get into.
Yeah, let's do it, man. I'm
Let's
psyched.
see. Let's see today. Oh, that's from last week. Hold on. Okay, we got into those. Uh, Bob the Builder's got a few. What do we think
Yeah.
of the closing angle on SmackDown? What'd you think of Paul Heyman and CM Punk being brought in?
Loved it. Loved it. Loved it.
Yep.
It was funny to see Paul Heyman without a tie and wearing a T-shirt underneath a sports jacket. I thought that was interesting. Someone saying, does that mean that Paul was told last minute he's going to be on? Oh, who knows? Maybe he just wanted a different look.
It
And
was the
CM Punk
bloodline, the
coming out was,
OG
yeah,
bloodline colors.
yes. So someone like CM Punk coming out. I'm glad it's not Seth Rollins, guys. I'll be honest with you, because it would have meant nothing. You guys know at this point when people refuse to work with people, then of course they change their mind the next week. So I like that they're sticking. And I wonder if you guys in the chat feel the same way, and you, DT, that they're sticking with, nope, Seth Rollins is unwavering of his hatred of Roman Reigns, and
Yep.
he's not going to change his mind. And he didn't. And they went with CM Punk, who took a little dig at Reigns, and Reigns is taking digs at him, but the common denominator is their love for Paul Heyman. And that sometimes could quell any bad feelings. CM Punk didn't come back and feud with Reigns. CM Punk took a dig at everybody in his opening promo here when he came in. So Reigns was just one of like 5 people he shot on. And that's fine. You can put that to the side. I'm the first OG Paul Heyman guy. Well, actually, you're not. Lesnar was, and before Lesnar, it was 911, Big Al, who was the first Heyman guy, if you remember, DT.
Yes, sure.
Back when that Frankenstein music used to hit, when anybody put their hands on Paul Heyman, then you hear,
Yep.
he would come out and body slam, and everyone wonders what happened. If you remember, DT, he is a Heyman guy, because that guy Big Al was Tombstone, who was one of the tag team champions in Windy City
Yep.
when Paul Heyman tried to run that Windy City company in
Yes.
the mid '80s in Chicago. Remember that?
Yeah.
When he went there with those 2 big guys. The whole first Heyman guy doesn't even make any sense, but that's what CM Punk's going to tagline himself with. That's fine. But I like it. I like the team up. I like the 5-on-5. I think Bronson Reed's very lucky to be the 5th man on that team. I really think it should have been Owens. But, Owens and also Cody need to feud together. And again, I like that Seth Rollins is not going to be the typical, okay, I give in. Don't you like that, DT? They finally stuck to someone not refusing to work and not making it a week later and saying, okay, we're cool now. So I'm glad that they did that. And I like and that match is going to get a lot of fucking heat, especially with CM Punk there, Reigns, OTC's chance, CM Punk chance. So they definitely look. It is not even close. It's going to be 95% fans cheering OTC CM Punk team, and about 5% cheering the new breed bloodline. It's not even like it's a split crowd of like 2 cool heel factions. I know a lot of you guys, jerk off all of yourselves over Jacob Fatu. I still think he has a lot to prove. I think he's going to be something, but it's going to take time. It's, I'm going to get you. Ruff, ruff. Take a bite out of crime. Rough.
Diapers.
But yeah, I mean,
Jakes.
again, like when someone said he should be in WrestleMania 2025, I'm like, get the fuck out of here. Seriously, get your head examined. He's got to take time. WWE is not rush guys like that. Same thing with Braun Breaker. Calm down. They're young. You got plenty of time. Okay, right now we have other marquee stars. These guys are the future, present and future. Let's not mix it up.
Yeah.
But it's going to be great. I think it's going to get a lot of fucking pop, and I think it's going to be a deafening loud crowd. And I think the main event is it's probably the strongest main event for Survivor Series. I mean, look, the last couple of years were pretty good. Don't get me wrong; they were pretty good, especially with Sammy back and everything. There's so much nostalgia. There's so much storyline there. There's future storyline there with a CM Punk Roman Reigns feud down the line for maybe Heyman's services or Heyman's loyalty on the line. There's so much out of this, DT.
Yep.
So I thought it was great. I mean, I know an elongated answer here. I hope I give you enough bang for your buck.
No. Shout out to Neil Ray because he asked the same
Thank you, guys.
question.
Yeah, thank you, guys. Like I said, no, it's I thought it ended great, and it's always a good ending when I get a ton of people writing me and Kev, what'd you think? Did you see that? So I hadn't got that in SmackDown in a few weeks from fans where they tag me. It's like, Kev, hope you just saw that. Wasn't that great? Heyman's back. Absolutely, I enjoyed it too. And if you guys enjoyed it, that was the effect they wanted, and the majority did enjoy it.
Yeah. Neil, thank you very much for being a channel member for 3 years and 8 months.
Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you,
and
Guy.
Triple H is doing great with this. And, I mentioned this little remark yesterday. What's so awesome about it is future storylines coming out of it. Kevin Owens telling Cody that he aligned with the guy that tried to ruin his career. Now he could use that same thing on Sami Zayn down the line. And it goes on and on and on. Randy Orton coming back, and Seth Rollins will probably be the heel going into WrestleMania 41 when he feuds with CM Punk. And I expect CM Punk at some point to accuse Seth Rollins of being a chicken shit for not,
Yeah.
getting involved with this. And to answer Bob's next question, I think they do CM Punk and Roman Reigns down the line, like you said. Maybe
Yeah.
with Paul Heyman in involvement in some way, shape, or form.
I
You
agree.
know?
Yeah, that there's a lot of storyline out of this. I mean, this is again, that's why the Braun Breakers, the Jacob Fatus. Let's not rush these guys. They're the future. Braun's in his 20s, Jacob's in his early 30s. Don't We got guys right now that are holding down the fort who are top guys. We're not short, unlike AEW, we're not short of top guys in WWE, and they got the future all lined up. Whether you believe in a guy like Trick Williams or not, or someone like that, or Braun Break, I don't know why you wouldn't believe in them, but these are guys. WWE's got it covered. They got it covered. I'm not worried about this. It's like a good baseball team, but they got a good, minor league roster, right? DT. They got good picks. They got good draft picks. I'm not worried about this company in that aspect at all.
Yeah.
So I think they're going to be fine. And to have Bronson Reed again, Jacob Fatu, Bronson Reed, guys, Jacob Bronson Reed was one of those guys who the Vince was like, get rid of this guy, let him go. Came back. Triple H giving him a second chance at life. He's making the most out of it. Again, very fortunate to be. Jacob Fatu comes right up, main roster, no NXT. Right there. So again, these are good signs, but it's a test too, DT. Can they hang with the big boys on the big premium live events? And we're
Right.
going to see. I think Jacob Fatu's, again, still more to prove. Four pay-per-views is not enough. You got to get about a year or two out of these guys. See if they can go, stay injury-free. Bronson Reed's another one. I'm not really sold on him yet. I got to see how he acts in this kind of spotlight, which a guy like that has never had.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
another question is, favorite Punk moment since he's been back, and his is the promo he had with Seth in Chicago. But as far as non-wrestling, that's my favorite moment. And I still remember the ratings at that time, that segment drew 700,000 additional people to see that confrontation. And then the rating dropped right back down afterwards. Um, CM Punk, Kevin and I on one of the special episodes last year said that CM Punk was going to be brought back and he was not going to be the focal point. He was going to be more of a part-time player, on the team. And I think they've used him quite well over the last year. And you don't overuse him. You pick your spots. And now you put him in a spot that he's probably set for storylines for the next 6 months, maybe more. And the best part about it is Drew McIntyre is not even back yet. Now we got to figure out how they're going to get Drew McIntyre back in the picture.
Exactly. There's another top guy. So again, we're top guy heavy for the most part. Someone here in the chat is saying NXT with the male talent maybe be a little bit of lacking. They also have a whole new plethora of guys and girls that they just signed. Again, I think WWE, Shawn Michaels doing a great job in NXT. Triple H doing a good job on the main roster. They got an eye for talent. I think it'll be fine. But yeah, CM Punk, listen, I'm enjoying him as a more nostalgic. CM Punk, and I'm sure I would hope that majority agree, you agree, DT, does not need a title. Doesn't need a belt. He's like a
No, not
modern day
anytime soon.
Roddy. He's like modern day Roddy Piper. Even
Yeah,
though Piper, as we all know, was given the Intercontinental title at one point, then lost it to Brett in a classic match. We all know that. But that was just to fill a void that WWE had at the time. But Piper, for the most part, never needed a title. CM Punk could be that guy too. Also, he gets injured. It's a whole. We'll say he's out again. He's got to forfeit the belt. It's a whole big thing. So skip that. And even if he fights Reigns, it'll probably be. I don't see. Someone even said to me, "Don't you think it's possible, Kev, that Reigns gets a belt back at some point?" I don't know because you can't do better than what he did already with the
right,
record
right, right.
breaking. He's the greatest heel WWE champion of all time, heel run. I agree with you guys. It wouldn't make sense it would be a bullshit consolation prize just to have a title now to have for a couple of months and then drop it to this hot potato it to somebody else. So I think when Punk and Reigns feud, what I think is on the line, and I don't know anything about this, but I'm just thinking, is Paul Heyman's management or services, a wise man
Right.
services. And that doesn't that interest you enough? Does a belt have to be on the line, DT, for those two to
No,
fight?
not at all.
No, not at all, right? It would be
Yeah.
even more interesting. Who gets the wise man retains the wise man's loyalty? That's way more better to me than who gets the one of the WWE championships. I'd rather see that,
Yeah.
So no, and and again, Punk is a different Punk. He's a team player. He's happy to be back, and that I think that makes the fans even more happy about him. The CM Punk hate is really tapered down. DT, I don't know if you noticed that.
Sure.
AEW fans try to AEW fans still piss on CM Punk, but WWE fans seem to be happy with him. I haven't seen anybody complaining about CM Punk as
I'm
WWE
very
fans.
satisfied. And you could see even
Yeah.
in the future his interest in NXT. He is going to be a coach. I think he's going to pick up where Shawn Michaels leaves off when Shawn Michaels finally
It
decides,
could
you know
be.
what, I need to, leave and stay with my family. I think when Shawn Michaels retires, I think that's CM Punk's waiting to be taken.
Yeah, no, I agree. CM Punk's doing fine since he's back. I have no complaints. I have no criticisms.
Um, Another question from Bob. Do you think Velveteen Dream will ever get another chance? And I guess we could say NXT.
I just don't see it. I think that we talked about it before, where sometimes things just don't work out, and it's not in the cards. Sometimes it just doesn't work out. I think it's he kind of burned the bridges with that. I mean,
Yeah.
what's your opinion on that, DT?
Honestly, I think anybody could get a second chance. Social media is what it is, and they've kind of done him in. I think it'll probably be several years before he's brought back. But I think he's got to work the indies a little bit more, and people get used to the fact that he's back in wrestling, and then never say never. But as of right now, I don't think he'll be back. I think Kev is tending to his cat. I heard Amy in the background. So, yeah.
I'm
Kev?
here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay. Yeah, I had a feeling you were tending to Amy.
yeah, I had to. Yeah,
Yeah,
good.
that's fine. It's fine. And
She's
by the
all right.
way, Bob says he loves your brother's take on Kate's question.
Oh
I
yeah,
don't know
yeah, I
what that's
saw that.
about, but yeah, I don't know what that's
Well, it's
about.
the journalist basically, asking, as we said, kind of false flagging for an agenda and trying to bait the wrestlers
Oh, so it
basically.
was
And
about the Bobby Lish thing. Okay.
yeah, it was kind of it was about that. It was
Okay.
it was about the intent of some of these quote unquote journalists.
All right. Last question from Bob. Our thoughts on wrestling purists.
Uh, Wrestling purists being what I mean, it
I'm
depends on what
assuming
you're.
maybe like the Jim Cornettes and all that. I mean, I think you at some point you have to adapt a little bit with today's day and age. I mean, technology's changed. The culture has changed. How the world operates changes. You can't get away with attitude era stuff anymore. So you wouldn't be able to revert to that. I'm not saying that he would revert to that. I don't have any issue with wrestling purists. I think everybody offers something to the table, and like we talk about Gunther all the time. Gunther doesn't have this celebrated wrestling history, but a lot of people say that he's very old school. And I think a lot of
Yeah,
wrestling purists would like Gunther. So wrestling purists definitely have its place, but I don't spend too much time on it. I just feel everybody gives a little input and that's it.
listen, I feel wrestling purists should have, be able to have their own schools, get married. Uh, you know, I feel what wrestling purists do in the bedroom. Honestly, guys, it's none of our
And
business.
they should all be on
Uh,
Blue Sky. That Blue Sky is turned
wrestling,
into a
listen,
disaster,
wrestling
man.
purists have every right to get together like we all do. Wrestling purists have every right to wear what they want, be how they are, be yourself. And props to wrestling purists.
Yeah. Shout out to Umar. Umar, thank you for the 5 spot, my friend. He
Thank
moved
you.
to a new place despite a relationship ending, but they are still friends, and he's gonna get a son out of it, and he's also gonna buy a DTKC shirt. just so you know,
Nice.
they come in baby sizes too.
Yes, you get I would love to see someone have a DTKC shirt on a baby. That would be fucking awesome. Oh my god,
Oh,
that'd be
I
hysterical.
should look into the diapers. Maybe
Oh my
DTKC
god.
diapers. We
Oh my
I
god.
brought it up a couple of weeks ago. We did have a DTKC thong back in 2008. I swear I got a screenshot somewhere. We never sold any. We never
Oh,
sold
good
any,
lord.
but oh my
Good
God,
lord.
that showed up in Spreadshirt. I was like, yeah, I got to put it out there just for the fuck of it.
Oh my
It's
god,
kind of
that's
like
too funny.
the old website, I used to have this section with the naked divas. I don't know if you remember that section where I had all the women that
Yes,
were
yes. No,
close
I remember
nude.
that. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, yeah.
And I put Mae Young in there just as a joke because she
Oh
showed her
god.
tits. So
Jesus Christ.
in the midst of Tori Wilson and Gail Kim, I know we're not supposed to bring that up anymore, and a whole bunch of others. Jamie Copey, when we exposed that time, we had Mae Young right smack in the middle with the naked divas. So, but shout out to
Lord.
you, Omar. Shout out to you, and shout out to Rojo Bear. Today is his birthday, celebrated with
Oh,
his
happy birthday.
family.
Happy
Um,
birthday, Roger Bear.
yeah, and happy Thanksgiving, Rojo Bear. What are some of our favorite Thanksgiving TV specials other than the
Uh,
parade?
well, Charlie Brown, Thanksgiving when we were kids. Charlie Brown had something Christmas, Halloween. There's always a Charlie Brown Thanksgiving thing back in the '70s when we were kids, growing up, little kids. I don't think. Oh, Thanksgiving, like traditional things to watch.
Yeah, I guess yeah. Well,
It's become like a Thanksgiving tradition now. My brothers watch it. Anybody ever watch the movie Planes, Trains, and Automobiles with John
mm-hmm.
Candy and Steve Martin? That's like a good Thanksgiving movie. That's become like a Thanksgiving must. Watch it every year. Trying to think what else. Trying to think like Thanksgiving uh, animated. Like there's so many Christmas '70s animated films, and with the puppets and all that. The Santa Claus coming. Thanksgiving doesn't really have. If you want to watch a good slasher horror movie, there's a movie Thanksgiving, the Eli Roth film. If you want to watch someone get murdered on Thanksgiving, that's a good one. I watched seriously, that movie was fucking brutal. If anybody's seen Thanksgiving, it's on Netflix.
I
Horror movie by Eli Roth, who did Cabin Fever and the remake of Death Wish.
I had
That's
I had a weird dream last night.
mhm.
And it was all about like murder, and I was thinking of Thanksgiving also. I'm not kidding. I actually I don't know if you ever get vivid dreams. I don't know why I got them
Yeah.
last
Oh yeah, I
night.
get them all the time. I have a fucking huge problem with that, actually. Yeah.
I don't know why I got it last night. I mean, I just went through my normal routine. I took my Ambien and my magnesium, and I passed out, and I kept waking up having these vivid dreams. I had a dream that somebody had a knife and started carving people up. Then
Oh
another
jeez.
knife. I had another moment where somebody like ripped like the underwears off a guy and like shoved like a knife up his ass. And I woke up like, what the fuck am I
Ah,
dreaming about this? I'm not kidding. I looked at my TV thinking that maybe something was playing in the background, like a horror film or something, and I woke up
uh,
from it. But no, it was just like regular TV bullshit.
it's crazy. I had a dream that I was at a scrum and someone from Fightful asked me a race question. I was just horrified. I woke up sweating. I
Kev,
didn't
how
know
do
how
you
to
feel about
answer
all
it.
these white people with champions?
Uh,
All these white people in Trump's cabinet.
oh my God, it's a terrible dream.
Oh,
But yeah, no, Thanksgiving is like one of those things. There's a lot of tradition that goes with it, but I don't think that like someone was saying Garfield Thanksgiving. Yeah, they have like some of the cartoons who have Thanksgiving, but Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, Dutch. That's a lesser known movie. Shout out to whoever just mentioned Dutch in the chat.
yeah.
The Ed O'Neill movie from the early '90s about him trying to get this kid home to celebrate Thanksgiving, which was a John Hughes movie. It bombed in the box office, but a lot of people, became kind of legendary on, watching it on cable. But yeah, I don't. Thanksgiving is probably, unlike Halloween and Christmas, where there's tons of things and TV shows associated with them. It's very limited. Thanksgiving's kind of a there's more people should have capitalized on that, DT.
Yeah, for me. It was more like watching the parades, and then you watch like a little bit. I think Laurel and Hardy is always on it. It used to be on Channel 11 all the time. I know it's on Christmas too, but they would
March
show
of the
like
Wooden Soldiers. March of the Wooden Soldiers. Yeah.
I watched
Remember
that
that?
so many years. I got
Oh,
to the
I
point
love
that
that.
I hated. Yeah, after a while, I started hating the movie because every year it was on. But
That
just
movie
think,
was they with they had some guy dressed up like a pig and who's taking a nail and hitting the boogeyman in the ass with it,
yeah, it
and it was
was
just
just,
swatting him in the. I mean, that was a real that was a and the boogeymen were real strange. They were like these disfigured cavemen wearing fur suits. I mean, look, the technology for costuming wasn't that great back in the 1930s, but the wooden soldiers look pretty good. They got them right. It's just the
yeah,
boogeymen monsters. They were very weird looking. Like they're really
yeah, that,
almost perverse, you know?
yeah, yeah. Will Chisholm, what do we think about AEW booking Camille like a joke right now? Um, it's almost like when someone made Vince mad and he would do this. I brought this up, I think yesterday that or the day before that now since fans are starting to notice how bad Camille's being booked, she will break away from Mercedes Monet. She will
Yeah.
break away. I guarantee you guys within a month, Camille will be broken away from Mercedes Monet and she'll be feuding with Mercedes Monet. I think AEW anticipated this backlash, and as soon as it starts catching on, that's when they're going to split them up. You watch.
Yeah, I
I,
mean, Camille, I think, didn't sign with WWE because her husband, Thomas Latimer, probably didn't want her to. You know, he used to be married to Charlotte Flair. I don't know if there's any love lost there. And I don't know if he's in good. He used to be in their NXT developmental system, didn't leave in the best way. So I don't know if that had any bearing. I have no facts of that, but I would say that her husband probably definitely didn't want her to go there
yeah,
because he wouldn't. They're certainly not going to pick him up again. I know he wrestles for Corgan in the NWA all the time, Latimer. I thought he could have been something years ago, but I mean, he's still well built. He's gotten older now, and I think he kind of is past his prime. But Camille, yeah, is supposed to be, always the next China, the next this or that. I don't know, man. So far, they've used her so bad. They're going to have to do a complete 180, big time turnaround to convince fans that she's anything. Because right now, people are just like, oh, yeah, that girl who stands next to Mercedes during promos. DT, they're going to have to, I don't know if they, they're probably the vision is, oh, we can make like Diesel when Diesel turned on Shawn
yeah.
Michaels. Yeah, but people cared about Diesel. The difference was Diesel was over. Anybody remember that? Diesel got as much pop as Shawn
And Diesel
Michaels did
wasn't
when he was
treated
a
like
young
a
guy.
flunky.
No, and he wasn't treated like a flunky. I mean, how about more like Virgil, like the white woman Virgil? Not to be racial, but
Well, that's why they put
yeah.
it with Mercedes Monet from the beginning because they wanted to shut fans up from immediately saying, "Oh, they just signed Camille. She's got to fight Mercedes for the belt." So they're like, "Nah, we'll just put them together so people can't say they want that right now." So
She's a
that's
non-entity. She's just like there, like an ornament, like a side person. There's nothing to it. Again, from the day one that Diesel walked in the door that Shawn Michaels brought him out, he mattered. You know what I'm saying? From day one when he brought him out, he mattered.
yeah,
Again, I would equate Camille again more to Virgil than anything. She's not pulling out dollar bills and making people kiss people's feet. But what is she really doing? And again, I think for personal reasons, she didn't sign with WWE, and she probably thought, "I'll go to AEW and be a top girl." Think again.
yeah. Rob S, thank you very much, my friend, for the 5 spot. Favorite Eddie Guerrero memory? Where would you rank him on your all-time favorites?
I love the Eddie Guerrero stuff we did with Mamacita, with China. I thought that was a lot of fun. I liked this. I'm not a big Chavito fan, not a Chavo Guerrero fan at all, other than his Kerwin White character, which I thought was fucking hysterical. But Eddie Guerrero with his team up with his nephew, Lie, Cheat, Steal, that was funny, classic. Mamacita stuff with China, classic. His stuff with the Radicals was very brief, but that was cool the way he came in. But as we all know, he got injured almost right away.
Yeah, with the elbow.
Um, yeah, guys, I know he did good in WCW, but my memories of him in WCW are he had a lot of 5-star matches, and he did, of course, the LWO. To me, when I think Eddie Guerrero, I think of Los Gringos Locos with him with Art Barr over in Mexico in AAA. Doing some good stuff there for a couple of years. WCW, I know he was like King Cruiserweight, King shit Cruiserweight. But to me, it was all about him getting to that top level, beating Brock Lesnar, getting that one run with the belt, even though it was brief. And I know he's, considered one of the lowest drawing champions. That doesn't matter. I think the fact that he got to the top, and remember, DT, he got let go at one point. He was wrestling for Jack Sabbath on
Yeah.
independent cards.
Yep.
If you remember at one point, me and Draper saw him. Me and Draper saw him
I do
wrestle.
remember
He
when
wrestled, he
you
wrestled
said you
Xavier.
went.
He wrestled Xavier. Who I can't. I always forget Xavier passed away. I always forget that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but so yeah, I have memories. I got to see him in the Elks Lodge in Queens when he got first released for the drunk driving thing. He came back again, just and within a year and change, he became world champion. Great comeback story. Sad ending, very sad ending. But good memories of Eddie Guerrero, one of the top 10 workers of all time. Absolutely.
Yeah. For me, I love this feud with Rey Mysterio. I have a soft spot for what he did in ECW, even though he was still not completely polished at the time. You knew that there was something special. One of my favorite moments, is the match he had with Rey Mysterio at Halloween Havoc in WCW. I also
Mhm.
remember the first time that he wrestled once he left ECW and he wrestled Dean Malenko was on Nitro. And I remember they both
Yeah,
looked at each other and they had that smile that,
yeah.
well, Eddie
That
at least
they
smiled.
made it. Yeah, well,
Yeah,
made it
like
to the
we
big
made
time.
it.
Yeah.
And, they did overall, Eddie Guerrero. I don't know if I put him in my top 10, but I would definitely put him in my top 25.
Well, I'm
I'll
talking
tell
about
you,
workers, not top champion, like in ring workers. You know what I'm
in-ring
saying?
workers, I would put him
Yeah,
in
in
top
ring work.
20. I would put him
Okay.
as far as complete performer, I would say maybe top 10 for complete
Yeah.
performer as far as charisma. And the most amazing thing about it, and a lot of you newer wrestling fans, and this is not a negative to you, you didn't live through it, but it's amazing to look back and to remember that there was a time when Eddie Guerrero went to the WWE after WCW and the fans despised him so much with go away heat. All you heard was Eddie sucks chants. He
Yeah, I
was at
remember that.
one point it wasn't even just heel heat. It was we're not interested in this guy. And they were just chanting Eddie sucks. And little by little, he just started to, get get a little bit. And the fans were now turning to, I want to see him get his ass kicked. Then it turned into love, and now he's one of the most beloved wrestlers of all time.
Yeah, and thank you. And
Beloved.
I know you're gonna shout them out, DT. Thank you for everybody who's continually sending in the super
Yeah,
chats. I see
yeah. I mean,
scrolling by.
much
We'll get to
appreciated,
everybody.
guys.
Yeah,
You
we'll
know,
get to
we'll
everybody.
we'll be able to buy cranberry sauce for Thursday.
All right.
No. It helps because, like I said, we don't have sponsors and we don't want to start doing that shit that's other people do. I can't get into shows like that when somebody will be in the middle of a deep conversation and suddenly they'll just switch
Blue
over to
Chew.
like
Yeah.
Blue Chew or cereal or something like that. I'm like,
Yeah, it's like, guys, do you have dick problems? Well, we're
speaking
gonna
of
tell you how to
Eddie,
get.
they wanted to do scenes with Eddie and China getting intimate, but the problem was Eddie had a little bit of problem in the bedroom, and Blue
Oh,
Chew
good
would have
lord.
solved that problem.
Oh, good
Yeah,
lord.
it's-
Yeah, no, but thank you again to everybody who keeps sending in super
yeah.
chats.
Thank you,
We'll
guys.
shout out everybody. So let's
Yes.
keep the questions rolling.
Yep. Hollywood 55 TNA versus AEW. Thank you for the 20 spot. What's the better
Thank you.
show at their high point, at their low point, and overall? Um,
TNA versus who?
TNA versus AEW.
I mean, TNA's got so many years on them and so many different management changes. And I mean, at one point, correct me if I'm wrong, because Vince Russo brags about this all the time. Didn't they have a very good rating for a couple of years at one point
They did.
um, during Vince Russo's booking years?
They did.
And AEW, of course, the first couple of years, I'll give it to them. They were hot. I told you, man, those I was seeing so many when I was working shows right back from COVID when we had live music return here to New York in summer of 2021. My God, how many people were rocking AEW shirts? I even got to the point where I'm like, I give them credit, the merch is selling.
Yeah.
Now, you walk in with AEW shirt, we throw you out. You get kicked right out. John rips the shirt right
You
out
don't
to you
just
at the
let them
door.
like wear it inside out.
No, but no one even wears them anymore. I was asking my daughter, I
Oh,
said, "Do you see a lot of AEW?" He goes, "Nah, I don't see anybody wearing AEW shirts anymore." He said, and it's funny, John, just like me, he goes, "That's like rocking a White Sox shirt right now. Come on, you're not going to wear that." So it's like, but yeah, in 2021, I remember when we just got back and it was like people, online to get in the club. I'm like, what were they giving out AEW shirts in the metal scene? There was so many people wearing them. I'm like, and I had to admit, by 2022, AEW was a force to be reckoned with. They certainly were. I could joke on them all I wanted. Now it's so much easier because like they're like a last place baseball team. But back then, they had a nice little thing going there. 2000, COVID knocked everybody out of the game. So let's take COVID out of the mix. Let's go to 2021 when live shows return with a crowd. 2021, 2022, I think, were the two hot years for AEW. The last 2 years have been abysmal.
Well, I'll
What do you
say
think,
this.
BT?
I'll say this. When Kurt Angle went to TNA and was feuding with Samoa Joe, and
That
there
was
was a
hot.
lot of things clicking on all cylinders, I honestly felt TNA felt bigger than what AEW is right now. AEW, the vibe reminds me of a lot of WCW 2000. I'm not saying that the writing is the same or even the product's the same. It's the vibe. It's the vibe. I put on for the channel members on YouTube, they get a video version of the shows. I posted a video clip of Will Ospreay on a Dynamite episode a week, 2, 3 weeks ago, and 3/4 of the building was empty. And you watch him come down, and this is fan footage, and you see it, and it's like, my God, where did they all go? I mean, they have all stars competing. This is like a movie with a lot of celebrities in it, a lot of top actors and actresses, but for some reason, the movie reviews are not very good, and nobody goes to see the movie. I personally agree with you what you said about AEW. I bought a whole bunch of AEW shirts. I have an AEW hat still. I know a lot of people that did too. I think the problem with AEW originally in 2021 and 2022 was, it was still new. So, Aubrey Edwards, notice we don't talk about her anymore. Aubrey Edwards and the referees letting everybody get away with everything, and not enforcing the rules, and, seeing so many clusterfuck finishes and so many run-ins. And when there was one point when Moxley was bleeding every single week, and, you using like expletives just to use expletives. And I've always said this, when you see it, the same stuff week in and week out, you get numb to it. And I think that's what's happened. Like we even talked about it the other day. I saw what you wrote on Twitter, watching Mina Shirakawa and Mariah May, like shaking their chest. It doesn't even look like it's not even like arousing. It's like, honey, I'll go on Pornhub right now and I could see it without the shirts on. It's like you're doing it and it's not even entertaining.
It's not, you have sexy
sexy
girls doing unsexy things. That's what I was basically trying to say. And
yeah,
most people got it except for one virgin who didn't get it at
it
all.
doesn't feel cool. Like the coolness factor of AEW has gone away. And
oh yeah, they're ice cold. I mean, that's I know Jason, our friend. Shout out to our friend Jason Solomons. I got into it with somebody and had a great clapback too. By the way, um, for someone who said that the left side of his bed is always empty, and he said that's because the right side of my bed has your mother in it. So I was like, typical that Jason with his old school NYC clapback. That was funny.
that's one thing they don't understand.
And they were saying to him, they were saying to him, "Oh, I thought you were a fan. Now it's ice cold." He's like, "Because it is ice cold. Are you blind?" He said, "Take the blinders off. It's cold as shit. It's cold. The company is not hot. It's nothing that who doesn't see this? It's like you can't be that blind."
The coolness factor has gone away. And let me tell you something. Do not underestimate uh, the EVPs and everybody behind the scenes that pushed out CM Punk. CM Punk is wrong for laying out Jack Perry. I've said that from day one. But understand that when you're watching a promotion and you have wrestlers in that company that are intentionally sabotaging people that we enjoy, and then you have journalists, echoing this online and trying to, continue what the narrative that these wrestlers just can't say publicly, and then they win and then they spike the football, that turns around and that's like, what? Fuck this. And here's another thing too. In 2021, and this is the most important thing, and I wish Tony Khan or somebody else would hear this. One of your biggest problems is that in 2021 and 2022, the company was still new and it felt like the enemy of WWE. Vince McMahon was still around. So when AEW was taking shots, a lot of people like, yeah, you know what? Fuck Vince and fuck all this bullshit and Vince, doing a lot of the goofy shit that he did. But now what's happened is, people got too comfortable with it. And now if you support WWE, you're put down, you're criticized, you're mocked. And then you have the owner of AEW calling WWE the Harvey Weinstein of wrestling. Harvey Weinstein raped people, and you're just using it loose. So that's like people saying that Trump was a Nazi. Like, stop using fucking terms that are violent.
That don't apply either.
Yeah, and the thing is that when you do that in 2021, it's one thing. When you do it 4 years later, it's like, yeah, you know what? I ran this poll 2 years ago. Nobody gave a shit, and to me, it said it all. My poll was, how many people that watch AEW also watch WWE, and it was about 70% of the people who watch AEW also watch WWE. So AEW's biggest problem is making WWE seem like they're the enemy. You should have just turned around and say, you know what? We welcome everyone. We offer a little bit of alternative. It's not, oh, watch us because we have the best and they have the worst and they're the Harvey Weinstein, this and that. And you alienate people that like both. And now WWE's hot, and they've been hot for a while. So now when you force people to choose, guess what? They're choosing WWE. And that's what's going on.
I always thought it was hard to rally a losing team. Like whether it's baseball, politics, your guy or girl lost the election, and you're still rah-rahing the troops, and it's like, we lost. It's like, now it's time to, I can't know who said it the other day. Maybe it was even Charles Barkley, who says you can't, you shut up already. Worry about, get better. Like, stop with there's no bragging rights when you take the L. I agree with that. With sports, politics, wrestling, last place, you're on a TV show that's doing no ratings, and you're rallying your troops like, we're still better. You're not better. You lost. That's like someone trying to put down the Mets. I'm like, the Mets made it to almost the World Series. You were knocked out in round one. You're not better. You're better. Better is notably better, tangible, factually better. When you take such an L and such a decisive defeat, shut up. Just be quiet, and then come back. You know what speaks loudly? Coming back with wins.
Yes.
Not just continually shit talking. Like, well, don't worry, guys. We may have lost this, but we still. I'm like, oh, come on, man. You're rah-rah. This is depressing. You know what that people do? They take off the jersey. Like, I'm done with this team. Like, seriously, or trade me. That's to me. I cannot stand rah-rahing when you are losing. That's like someone getting knocked out. Like, you got knocked the fuck out. The guy gets up and takes like a shot at the guy. Gets like one shot in his arm. I fought back. Didn't, but give me credit for hitting the guy in the eye. I fought back. I got up after I got knocked out.
You still
shut up, man. Yeah, you still lost. You lost. Yeah. Take the L and shut the fuck up.
When Tony Khan stops treating WWE like the enemy, and when they start speaking up and telling people, look, stop criticizing fans that like both products. When they stop that narrative where AEW stops acting like the victim, that WWE has it out for them, that's the hard reset. Stop playing the victim card. Stop playing WWE's the evil. That's your hard reset. You stop that aura, you'll start getting more people to tune in again.
Okay.
So, Rob, Big Rob with a big 40 spot. Thank you, Big Rob.
Thank you, Rob.
This is more of history research. Is it true that Vince McMahon told cable providers back in 1987 that if they continue to air Starrcade on Thanksgiving night, they would not have access to airing WrestleMania 4? He was very young at the time. What do we remember? We weren't that old at the time, Big Rob. I mean, I was, 18? I mean, I was 18 at the time.
I was like 2. I don't know what you're talking about, Rob. I was like a teenager. But I don't know if that's true or not. And Dark Side of the Ring has claimed that that's what happened. DT, we can only really speculate. We don't know.
Yeah, I'll tell you this, Rob. Again, we were young at the time, but we lived through it. I will tell you that the way the cable industry was being run at the time, even though WrestleMania, because, Rob, the thing that Dark Side of the Ring does not point out, and a lot of other people don't point out, is that WrestleMania 1 was only 2 years before. So although Vince McMahon was hot, with WrestleMania, now WrestleMania 3, Hulk Andre and everything, WWF was still touring in a lot of small buildings. Go back and watch Wrestling Challenge or All Star Wrestling or whatever it is from 85 to 87. So Vince McMahon did not have that kind of pull in 87. It was still a regional company. Yes, other promotions were going out of business and Vince was picking up a lot of stars, but Vince McMahon did not have that kind of pull in the entertainment industry. He did not have that kind of pull in the cable industry. And let me tell you something, if Vince would have told cable providers in 1987, you wouldn't get WrestleMania 4, they probably would have turned around and said, what the fuck is WrestleMania 4?
Right.
WrestleMania 3, we talk about 93,000 people. You don't ever hear people talking about how many buys they got, how many pay-per-view. I mean, it did decent.
That came later.
That came later. I mean, we paid for pay-per-view, but the point is Vince did not have that kind of pull. He couldn't strong arm cable companies in 87. So I don't believe it. I think that that's a take that somebody came up with. And because they know Vince McMahon is not going to go publicly and say that's bullshit, people run with it. And when you run with it for enough years, people start convincing themselves that it's true. I don't believe it at all.
Same here.
I don't believe it at all. I mean, because even you look at Saturday night's main event, believe me, if Vince McMahon had more pull than what's perceived, we wouldn't just have those Saturday night's main event specials air when they did. And, he didn't have that kind of pull at the time. So I don't believe that story.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah. Thank you, Big Rob, again. DeMarcus with a 5 spot. Heel Naomi and Bailey versus babyface Jade and Bianca is money. He thinks Naomi and Bailey as a heel team reminds him of an old school Glow team. That feud could be really good. What do you think of Naomi and Bailey both being heels?
Well, I'm impressed because DeMarcus isn't that old to reference Glow.
The gorgeous ladies of wrestling.
Yeah, I mean, I find Bailey. I look at Bailey as like the hottest lesbian girl in the prison gang, who's not a lesbian. Yeah, Bailey to me is a goofball. I don't know. Everybody's a big fan of hers. I never got her appeal at all. Naomi's okay, but to me, she's kind of a generic wrestler. I'm a big Bianca fan out of the 4 that he named. Jade Cargill's being, treated with kid gloves. Bianca Belair's curtailed her career to babysit basically Jade Cargill. So I feel bad for Bianca out of the equation of all these girls. But I think it could be money. I agree with you. I think Naomi absolutely had something to do with Jade Cargill getting jumped, even though some people think it was Charlotte Flair. It could be Charlotte, but that's not really Charlotte's style. I'm going to go with Naomi is actually going to be the jealous, bitter stuff, and she's been in cahoots with Bailey the whole time. That's how Jade Cargill wound up, beaten up mysteriously. So I think, heel Naomi and with Bailey versus them. I don't know if it's money, but I think it's a good feud. I don't know if it's money, but I think it's a good feud.
I don't think it's Naomi or Bailey because I think it's too obvious. I think WWE is going to throw a massive curveball. I was thinking maybe Jade Cargill is just a clumsy fuck, and maybe she just tripped and fell on top of a car. Maybe we'll find out that she just fell. Guys, I didn't get attacked. I just fell. I tripped. No. I stepped on a pebble and my heel broke and I fell.
Unless it's Bianca and they're turning Bianca, but I just don't see it. Bianca next to Cena. Bianca's the female John Cena with Make-A-Wish. I can't see them making her Bianca a bad girl, bad guy. I don't see that. Turning Bianca heel is. That she does a lot of community outreach for them. I don't see them making her a heel.
If they weren't the tag team champions right now, I would entertain the possibility of Bianca. But the fact that they're tag champs still, I don't believe it's Bianca. I don't think it's Bailey or Jade or Bianca.
Think it's Charlotte?
I'm not sure because, like you said, that's not her style.
It really is because you could say, well, dirtiest player in the game, like her dad. Yeah, but her dad had the 4 horsemen jump people. I don't remember Ric Flair on his own really.
I got an idea.
Like there was always like a group. Who could?
I got an idea. Bring in Britt Baker and say it was Britt Baker that did it. She's leaving AEW down the line.
I didn't even realize. I was just watching Cobra Kai, the new 5 part series. I know there's another one, I think, to close it out in January, I think is the next 5. And then the series is over. And someone pointed out to me, what'd you think of, what's her name? What's her name? The
Britt
dentist girl?
Baker.
Britt Baker being in Cobra Kai. I'm like, she was? And then I realized I watched it back and I'm like, oh, she played the Russian girl. Oh, yeah, I see her now. Because I was even saying to myself, that girl looks familiar. She played some Russian thuggish woman in a karate tournament. And it was Britt Baker. So, yeah, I mean, if she comes to WWE, I mean, I don't know. But I feel clearly, there's some storyline. If it was Naomi, it's understandable. If it was Charlotte, that makes sense. Knock her out so Charlotte can get in. But if it's Bianca, I'm going to be really disappointed with that. I'm like, I don't know if I want to see Jade the babyface and Bianca the heel. Jade's got to be the heel in the feud with Bianca.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, unless it's somebody from NXT.
Yeah,
And I don't
maybe.
know who it would be. I don't know who it would be.
Lola Vice knocked her out with that the hippers.
Listen, if I got knocked out on that car and had the same contusions Jade Cargill would have had, if that was because of Lola Vice, trust me, you know what would have been the difference? You would have saw me knocked out with a smile on my face.
That's true.
I would have been like, yeah, give me more of that shit, man. I don't care. That's all right. I'll heal.
Action.
Mr. No Matter What says that Tony Khan is Vince McMahon 2.0, the way that he books. Listen, as bad as Vince became, and it took me a little while after Triple H took over, and Triple H is not perfect. Triple H has made a lot of mistakes too, but no promoter, even Paul Heyman, and ECW is my favorite promotion of all time. Even Paul Heyman made mistakes, but at Vince McMahon's worst, I still don't think it was as bad as what Tony Khan is doing. Tony Khan is reminding me. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Tony Khan is reminding me more and more of Joe Biden. He's the Joe Biden of wrestling. And what I mean by that is Joe Biden's not running this country. A whole bunch of people behind the scenes are running this country. And Kamala Harris and everybody else are banking millions upon millions of dollars along the way. That's why it was win by any means necessary, because it was about keeping power and keeping money. I think Tony Khan doesn't even run AEW. I think it's all of these cronies behind the scenes running it, and people lining their pockets with crazy amounts of money and putting themselves with all this great pyro and shit like that. I think it's all about power and money for a lot of these people. I think Tony Khan is the Joe Biden of wrestling. I don't know.
Could be.
I don't know. It's just. He also asked, what happened to Shane McMahon? He bets people would be more receptive to him coming into AEW now. If Shane McMahon came to AEW, would you tune in just to see what he's going to do?
The first night, and then I'd be done after the first night. I would tune in for the second night, maybe for his injury in the ring.
I don't believe that TKO or Triple H would ban Shane McMahon from ever returning if he went to AEW. I think it would be like, good, have fun, make money. Good. And once that's all done, you come back here. I don't think, because it's not Vince's company anymore, I could see people going to AEW, and I don't think they would be barred, for, life or for, extended period of time. If
he's not going to be barred, but but why would he go there? Shane doesn't need money. He doesn't need money.
Oh,
and what kind of money is he really going to make? And I don't know. I understand Shane's wife a lot of coupons they're doing. I don't get why. Yeah, Shane going there. I think it would have happened. I think people would agree with me on this by now. The pictures that he took with Tony Khan were closing in on 4 to 6 months ago. He would have appeared by then. I think, guys, if they made a deal, he would have been in by like a past 2 premium events, the last 5 episodes. When is the big reveal? We're going to wait for when to counter the Royal. I mean, I don't think Shane's coming. Maybe there was something on the table and it just fell apart. Or Shane maybe realized, I don't know if I want to come here. Then I get tagged like a Vince Russo. I get associated with the downfall of this company. If I come in and the ratings get worse, I think Shane, and Shane's not really. I know someone, a friend of mine, a female friend of mine, works out not with Shane, but in the same, takes some of the same classes, MMA in Manhattan, where Shane works out in the gym. And so the same thing. He's a very humble guy. He's not an egotistical guy. He's very, again, like a rich kid who almost more like he was a poor kid. Like he's got such a great work ethic, and he's a tough guy, and he's a nice guy. He's a fair. He's totally the opposite of his a lot of ways. But I also think the one thing he probably was thinking about is, yeah, if I go in course, I mean, God, people are going to be brutal to me, saying, "Oh my God, if the McMahon got even worse." Vince Russo, he's like, "Oh, I got the rate." I was like, "Yeah, but you're affiliated with the downfall of W. That's all I think. 9 out of 10 fans batter him about it. I think Shane doesn't want to be that guy. They were doing better. Maybe Shane would want to come in, but doesn't go anywhere or gets worse from there. Why be part of that? Why go in there and put yourself through that? He doesn't need to do that, DT, is what I'm saying.
Right.
And if he has no solutions, then what's the point? You know what I mean? If he
Yeah.
has no solutions, they had meetings. What were those meetings really about? Creative?
Yeah.
I'll come in and say I'm the one behind Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin. But that wouldn't even make sense because Shane had really nothing to do with them in the company. He had nothing to
Yeah.
do with Bobby Lashley's return. That's just kind of a bullshit WWE narrative of Shane's a McMahon, Vince ran it, Shane's Vince's son. I see the connection with him and Shelton Benjamin. I don't see the connection. Where's the connection with Shane McMahon, MVP, Shelton Benjamin? By where? Where is
They
it?
were saying
Name a
Moxley's
storyline that they were involved
cryptic.
in together.
Yeah, they said some of early Moxley's cryptic
Shane
comments
reveals
were
he's
directed
black.
to Shane. Everything
Shane
was
reveals he's
directed to
black,
Shane.
Marcus said.
Yeah.
Yeah, Moxley. And listen, I don't know what they're waiting for to bring him. What are they called? The Death Riders? Is that what they're called now?
Yeah. Death
Um,
Riders.
John Moxley. Who's in that group? John Moxley, Mina
The same people
Shafir,
as the
right?
Blackpool Combat Club. Just instead of Brian Danielson, they got Marina Shafir.
Oh, okay. Is what's his name still in that company? Antonio Banderas.
Yeah,
What's his name?
yeah. Now he talks. Was it
Antonio Banderas. That's not
Switz?
his name. What's his name? The Swiss guy. The Swiss
Yeah,
Superman guy.
Cesaro.
The guy who looks like Jason
Claudio
Statham. What's his name?
Castagnoli.
Claudio. Oh yeah, I know. God, he tore it up after leaving WWE.
Yeah, and Pac is in it now too. That's true. Pac is in it too.
Oh, another big, huge star lost, but good lord, it's like a rogues
Remember the
gallery of
man that
acts.
gravity forgot. Remember that the man that creative forgot. That's what we used to call him.
The man that fans at WWE forgot. If he came back, no one would know who he was. But yeah, no. Again, Shane should have appeared by now after those meetings took place at first 3 to 6 months ago. Again, are they waiting for the new year?
The
Well, we'll
hard
start
reset.
fresh in 2025. Maybe that's the hard reset with Shane McMahon.
Yeah,
Maybe it is.
they,
Maybe
they
that'll
should
be
show
it.
like a red button in the back, and it should have the word reset on it. Somebody should slam it down, and it's Shane McMahon. And I'm not kidding too.
Maybe they're waiting for Pete Gas and Rodney to clear medical.
Oh God, I
Bring
could
back
see
the Street
them.
Posse.
I could see them having a stint for one night. I could see it.
Oh my God, Jesus.
Julius Tillery, what's up, Julius? How do
Yeah,
we
what's up,
feel
Julius?
about the advent of social media that wrestling has lost its sense of community? He likes that we can have a different opinion, but I don't know. I can't stand social media most of the time now.
I know you've pretty much given up on it at this
I
point.
just
And I
I
don't
don't know.
blame you. I don't blame you. I don't blame you.
I tried so much to like use logic, and I realized that, if you really want to be part of a conversation, you got to like shit on something. You got to complain, you got to rip, you got to criticize. If you just praise things, like people are like, I don't want to hear that shit. I don't know. I just feel social media has just totally become toxic.
Well, also, the lack of people with a sense of humor on there. I mean, there's obvious things that are said there. Like I talked about Jason's joke, what he said back, and of course, he was just firing back on someone who insulted him. Like Jason criticizing AEW, and for someone to say, like, just for example, oh, unlike the left side of your bed is lonely at night. Like that again. What does it have to do with the state of AEW taking a
Right.
personal shot at Jason? That's where you lose me. And then you're like, oh, just ignore it, ignore it. I think sometimes you have to clap back. You drop that microphone so hard on their fucking necks that they don't know what fucking hit them because they're just sitting there as jerking off with one hand and eating Cheetos with the other. They don't know what to fucking do. Where they're almost like, I got to think of a comeback, and then it's over. If you don't come back from that in 10 minutes with another retort, just leave it alone. You take the L and go your fucking own way. But I think that that's another thing. I think that even when you post some nice stuff, there's always got to be someone in there who even something nice about wrestling. Oh, that was such a great match, and then someone has to personally insult somebody, and then it goes from there. And then someone tries to defend that person who's the poster. Then it goes. It just and it's not. It never stops. You know what I'm saying, DT?
Yeah.
It's not even like stop even responding. There was someone. Shout out to Nikki who listens to the show. Cool chick in Canada who's a fan of ours for years. Shout out to her. She was talking about. And she posted this publicly that she didn't like the new movie Gladiator. That was too kind of woke. It wasn't as good as the Gladiator before, and giving her reasons for it. And people chatting with, and someone just comes into the conversation with some bullshit and keeps insisting on an answer while insulting her, insulting me, insulting other people. And someone had to tell this guy after the fifth thing that he wrote there, dude, they got you on mute. This is painful watching you continue to insult them because they X you out. You're done.
Yeah.
Like, go away now. Like, it's like you wrote five things, it's over. Like they're not responding to you because you're acting like a lunatic. So it's the same thing from a movie review. You don't like a movie and people just go in there. They personally attack you. It's not even like again, ECW, AEW is cold. Well, here, I'm sorry, Jason, I disagree with you. I think this and that. Instead, it's like, yeah, okay, virgin. Like, it's like
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
This and it just gets, you guys know in the chat too, it just gets worse from there, because even if you don't do anything, you'll have a friend of yours who wants to stick up for you, and they'll then go after the person, and then you keep getting notifications, DT, that this conversation is right. Do you guys ever get that where you're out of the conversation
Yep.
and it's continuing, and you left the post like a day ago, and you turn on your thing and there's 28 comments to your post, and
Yeah.
it's all two people going at it who you don't
Yep.
even know.
Yep.
It's like, what the fuck did I even bother you? Like, that's why I could see people getting turned off to it. I could totally
Yeah,
see it.
I've given up for the most part. I'm sure one day I'll come back and I'll start dishing it out again, but I just don't like, and listen, this election did not help either
Oh no,
because
definitely.
the
But the wrestling
way,
community was already toxic, DT, before that.
yeah,
That
and
that
the
there was
election
already
didn't help at
toxicity.
all.
Yeah. No,
So
no, it's just a narrative of everything out there, and let's be honest, even it goes for people who like a TV series, and some other people don't like it, but no one ever gives you bullet points of why they disagree. The
right,
first thing they go to, fuck you. Like, where do you go from fuck you? There's
listen,
nowhere to go from there.
you want to know something? You know what's the breaking point for me? I'll tell you what the breaking point is. I've never said this publicly, but I'll tell it.
Sure.
I like cracking jokes. I was having
Yeah, yeah.
fun online.
Comedy's great.
Yeah,
Comedy's great.
like, one day I'll tell my kids this was this person, this person, this person. And I would just crack
Mhm.
jokes. So about 4 or 5 months ago, I posted a video of a bunch of people trying to all like shoot hoops, and everybody was getting an air ball.
Right.
And it was like 5 or 6 different people on a team, and every player was shooting an air ball. And what I did was under each player, I wrote Mercedes Monet, Adam Copeland, Jay White, Okada, and Will Ospreay. And I put their names. And then MJF, I put a question mark, and I cut the video off before the basket hit because he was coming back, and I was thinking, okay, maybe he can help turn these ratings around. It was just
Right.
a joke. And the post is still up there. And 5 people who I was friends with, 4 of them work in AEW, all unfollowed me from
Oh
that
God.
post. And,
It's
like I
ridiculous.
didn't say nothing, but I was saying to myself, like, really? Like, like just a simple joke, about shooting air balls and that's enough for you to get like, you know what? I don't care if you don't like the joke. I mean, not everything I say hits, but I was like to the point where they unfollowed me and I was like, I don't care about who follows me and not, but just the idea that I crack a joke and that's triggers them enough to not only like, not like it, but just totally, I was like, you know what, I'm not even gonna waste my time.
No, no. And I know we got a bunch of questions to answer.
Yeah,
Just a quick shout out to Cause and Effect, who lost his job, but his birthday's tomorrow. Not feeling very festive. But dude, if you're still young, trust me, jobs will come and go. I'm sure your luck will turn around. Still try to enjoy your birthday tomorrow. Enjoy Thanksgiving. Jobs come and go, right, DT? Like certain
Yeah.
relationships.
Hey,
It's it,
if you live near us, I know a deli that might be hiring a whole bunch of people in about a week.
Nah, yeah, man. Don't even listen. I was a guy who lost my gig 9 years. COVID sent me reeling.
Yeah.
But someone told me even during then, a year from now, dude, you'll be looking back. Oh no, I'm actually on to better things. So yeah, man. If you don't let that bring your birthday down. Enjoy your birthday. Enjoy the holidays. Another job will come. Maybe even much better than the one you had. So cheer up.
Yeah. Julius says for me any Yorkie tips. He's got a Yorkie that's 4 months old. Um, I don't know. There's so many. I'll tell you. You know the my we have two Yorkies now, and
Yeah,
everybody's
cute
seen
as hell.
pictures of
Those
them.
dogs are so cute.
Very
Oh
cute,
my
and
god, so
Bella
cute.
just turned
Very.
1 earlier this week, but I never realized like how many like different types of Yorkies there are. So like all I could say is there's so many different forms of it. Like I didn't even know like Bruno that we have, the little male dog. My wife tells me that he's Ukrainian.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what do you mean Ukrainian? He's like, no, that lineage comes from Ukraine. And I'm like, no shit. And I started doing some research and I was like, holy shit, look at this. This dog is like a Ukrainian, like breed or something. So,
Oh wow.
it's an interesting breed. And all I could say is, you just treat your dog like you would treat a cat or any type of dog. You just give them a lot of love and spoil them. So,
And they'll give you unwavering loyalty that you will never see
oh
in your
yeah.
lifetime from any human being.
Yep,
Exactly.
absolutely. He
Yeah.
wanted to ask you, if at Liberty, what do you look for when you book artists for your club?
It was funny. I just got into that the other. That's funny you asked that because I just got into it the other day with one of my owners, a female owner. I have two bosses, female and male. They used to be married. Now they're married to other people. So that's an interesting thing. Um, and she was telling me that asked me why I passed on some tour package with this agent. Agent thought I didn't personally like him, and I said no, I didn't like the offer. And that being that it was a package of bands that have no experience playing New York. The money they were asking was too much. We would have never made the money to recoup the money plus pay staff expenses. I saved my bosses $1,000 at least. So
Wow.
it's like my job is to not only make you money but save you money. It was a bad prospect for our club. We passed on it. I pass on deals all the time. You just happen to know about one of them. I passed on about 17 in the last 2 weeks. So I thought it was funny. It was like, well, hello. Yeah, this is what I do for the last 4 years for you. So it was just like, and it was funny where my mail boss, who was my go-to, I don't really, she covers the bar. My mail boss covers the shows. I'm the GM who runs the shows. I'm like under him. So it's like, I would be like the Shawn Michaels to his Triple H, if you want to equate it to wrestling. I run my division, but I answer to him, even though she's my boss too. But she doesn't really get into my business, and she's like, "Oh, so you passed on it for financial reasons?" Yes, which helps you, unless you want to pay $1,000. No, I don't. I'm like, okay. So it's like, so yeah. So what I look for, rounding the block a little bit and coming back around, is something that's viable. I mean, local wise bands that are from the tri-state, they'll do well. We had two great shows this weekend, Friday and Saturday. Had over 100 people in the club come see local bands. Getting 100 people to come see a couple of local bands is actually pretty impressive in this economy. No name bands; they're just local bands from the towns. But we do touring national bands. It has to make sense. You do the math on it. How much tickets are going to be? How much the guarantee is for the band? The dinner buyout, all the stuff that goes into it. If you have to get them a hotel for the night or a B&B, and you figure and factor everything in, how the bar is going to do, projected bar expenses, staffing, security guys, sound man, doorman, bartenders, floor manager, figure it all out. And I go to the owners, want to roll the dice, want to take a risk. Yeah, that's a good risk. No, that's a bad risk. So with local bands, easy because local bands don't ask for a lot. They get a cut from the door. They get a cut from their draw. Club gets a cut to pay their staff expenses. Everybody's happy. Everyone couldn't have been more than happy this weekend. The bands were ecstatic about how they did this weekend, how much they made, and the club was happy. But with touring bands and bands that cost, some money, some real legit money, you got to figure and factor it all in. My job is as much to save the owners from a loss than it is to get them a win, DT, if that makes any sense.
No, it makes total sense.
Yeah.
Makes total sense. I think some people don't think about that aspect about the business. It's not just making money; it's
Yeah.
about saving money too.
Yeah, well, yeah, not even so, but yeah, like trying to be cost effective where you have take the least amount of L's that you can. You always have, just like you lose games in baseball, there'll always be a bad night or an off night. But my boss, Jeff, gave me a great compliment the other day during a staff meeting, and again, I was just sitting in listening on a Zoom call, and just kind of listening to the two owners talk about certain things. And he says, "Got to say, since we hired Kev 2021." 95% of these shows are winners and have run on point with little problems, little complaints. The shows we used to have pre you and the guys that we brought in post COVID, when we hired all you new guys in 2021, the shows were shit. We were a Wild West show. I didn't even know half the time who was playing. There was no flyers. Things were so disorganized. You completely turned things around. And I think we have, since you came on board, I feel like we have a winning team. And I was like a great compliment. Like, and I said, well, give credit to everyone from the doorman to the state. He goes, yeah, but you brought all those guys in. So I was like, that is true. I put them all in from the club in Queens that closed down. I got everybody a job from that
Yeah.
club that closed down. I brought my doorman in, my sound man, my performance area doorman, one of the bartenders we got hired there. But it's a team effort. It's never about, it's never all about. But it's so great to hear someone just randomly just say something like that, and you're there and you're listening, like, oh, me, oh, thank you, like, like that was cool. And sometimes, more than money, DT, the same thing. A compliment and validation is
Oh, sure.
sometimes even better than money, because you feel like you have value. Like you get
Yes.
paid and stuff, but you never know if someone pays you begrudgingly, like, this motherfucker. We don't even make money with this guy. But it's good to know that they don't grit and bare their teeth when they pay me, because they think I'm doing the job that they hired me for. So
Yeah.
I was happy to hear that. So that also gives me peace of mind, and also makes me work harder. It
Yeah.
makes me want to win.
People
You know what I'm
people
saying?
show
Like,
they
and be that
appreciate
guy.
what you're doing. It gives you
Yes,
more
yes.
incentive.
Oh, they didn't do that at the last club I worked at, and I was miserable, and that's why I projected that, even on some of the old DTKC shows, which I put in the rearview mirror during those, like, 2019-20 days, which was my attitude as much as anything else. Like you say, you're part of it, but my part of it too. My attitude was bad, but it was because of outside elements. And people say to this day, not only for you, and you hear the difference in your like inner happiness or peace that you bring from because we all still have our problems, but we're just, and maybe it is age and growth and advancing, or just, maybe growing up. I mean, seriously,
Yeah.
maybe it took 52, 53 for you to grow up instead of 50, 51.
Yeah.
But no, today, and again, I work better, and I feel, again, when you get that validation, it's like, great. I like when people are content, and if people write and say, you and DT sound like you're really happy to be there, it's genuine. That makes me look forward to 10:15 every Monday night. It really does,
Yeah.
DT.
And listen, and I'll say this: if Monty is tuning in, and Monty's friend of the family, Monty and the Pharaoh, great fucking shows, and they
Oh
work
yeah, shout out to those
hard
guys.
at
I was
what they
listening to
do.
those guys earlier today. Earlier
Yeah,
today, I was
I
listening
was
to them.
looking
Yeah,
at the stuff they were saying about Dustin earlier. There's a
yes,
little
I listened to, dude. I'm not even joking. It came in my recommendations clips in YouTube, and I
I
watched it
never get a
an
chance to
hour
tune in
before.
live, but I always watch their archive stuff. But I brought this up once or twice before in the past. Monty, when you and I were not talking, Monty's like, "And come on, you two are the OGs. You can do the shows and not,
I know.
be friends on the outside." He's like, a lot of successful shows have done that. And I said to him, I'm like, look, I really appreciate it. I said, but no, I gotta, really enjoy the company that I'm with and the conversations. I can't just like put a fake smile or a fake laugh on. I gotta, and I said,
And we're
if it
talking about
happens,
then, by the way. Yes,
yeah, we're talking
not
about
now.
then.
Then,
I
yeah,
mean, this
then,
is way
then,
before. But
4 years ago.
I think Monty understands now what we meant by that, because we have fun on these shows. It is absolutely genuine. We have
Mhm.
a great time. And take note, guys, we criticize a lot of WWE. We criticize a lot of AEW. We criticize where warranted, but we do it in a different way. And that's just our style. It's not that we're better than anybody else. It's just our style is to be a little bit more respectful, a little comedic about it, but also give a little bit of points as to what we would do to change things. Our style is different than everybody else's, but the one thing
Oh,
is that
definitely.
if we're not getting along and we're not having fun, then the shows suffer because of it. And I think
Well, also
people,
if you bring baggage from even outside elements and then put that on top of it, that's what made it worse.
yeah,
Like outside
absolutely.
thing, like I'm sure COVID didn't help anybody's show. You know what I'm saying? That didn't help
Yeah,
anything. You
you're
know?
right. You're right. I mean, and just the overall vibe just brought everybody down. So,
Yeah. So
um,
great, and 4 years makes a tremendous difference.
yes. And want to give a special shout out to Tyrese, who is tuning in right now. You guys will know his name because I always have fun with his last name, Veridiano. Tyrese's dad is in ICU right now. He had a stent put in a few days ago, and they sent him home. And sure enough, the next day he had a bad stroke. So
Oh no.
he's in ICU right now. And Tyrese, seriously, our thoughts are with you because I had that with my dad a few years ago. I had it with my mom 6 years ago. My
Yeah.
dad went for a stress test and they didn't like what they saw. And they said, yeah, you got to go to St. Francis Hospital. All right, I'll make the appointment. No, you need to go today. And he's like,
Dude, that happened
why?
to my father when he turned 60. Well, my doctor called my mom at the time. My father was only 60. He got cancer 10 years later, which he passed from. Same thing. He consistently couldn't get a good read on the EKG, and the stress test was a disaster. My father didn't pass one test that the doctor gave him in office. He even called in another guy from the medical center, and they're like, "We got to get you to Coney Island Hospital." My father's like, "Ah, no, 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 no. I'll come next week. Next week. Like you won't. You could die overnight." We had to have an intervention with my father to get him. Me, my uncle Joe, and my aunt Annette took my father to the hospital personally back then. I remember my father went right in DT, triple
Yeah,
bypass stent, tube down his throat for a week. I was like, "What the fuck?" I was just watching a ball game with my father like the day before. He was fine.
yeah,
He just kept rubbing his sternum, like
yeah,
saying, "God, it's burning." It's like I need maybe like acid reflux. He thought he had.
yeah,
And the doctor's like, no appointment next week, right now, Coney Island Hospital. I'm calling ahead. Might even want to call an ambulance. So I was like, I am not going to. I'm fine. I'm fine. And we had to get my father there. And within 3 hours, he was in surgery. I mean, it was
unbelievable.
unbelievable. It really was
Unbelievable.
unbelievable.
Well,
Yeah.
Tyrese, we want to hear good news. So we're
Yes,
praying
please.
legit. We want to hear good news. When you get an update, you let us know. So you can always reach
Knock on
us
wood. He'll be
everywhere,
okay.
Twitter, everywhere else. We'll definitely pass along an update too. I know a lot of people in the chat were expressing thoughts earlier too.
Yeah, Terry's.
Um,
Good luck.
yeah. Want to shout out to Jerry Ramey. Welcome to the family, my friend. You're the first new member in about 2 months. So
Yeah, what
much
the
love,
hell?
my friend. Enjoy.
Thank you, Jerry.
Enjoy. Thank you very much. All right. We gotta get into some more questions. We went a little out of order earlier, so
I know.
it's
I saw
okay.
some
Neil
really good.
Wright, it's beautiful to see WWE having some similarities to old school WWE when it was WWF. Better use of talent, different page. NXT's blown up to something very special. Um, you, what's your overall take on NXT right now?
I like it. I like watching it. I have had to watch the replays on the on demand or whatever you call it on Verizon because I can't watch it live sometimes because I get caught up in work and it's too much. I'm like I'll watch the whole thing in peace tomorrow, like when I'll get a chance to watch it or whenever they put it on the for availability. Sometimes 2 days later, sometimes the next day. It all depends. Sometimes YouTube has it. I mean, I always find a way to watch it, and I'm all caught up pretty much. But I mean, I'm a fan of NXT. I've always liked going back to Heartland and OVW. I used to get tapes from my friend in Kentucky, and I would keep up with that. Me and Draper would watch them with the rise of Batista, John Cena, and Charlie Haas, all those guys. So I've always liked developmental AAA leagues. I've always enjoyed the minor league farm system to see the stars of tomorrow, and I still enjoy it. I always laugh when people are like it's not like black and gold. I'm like, oh,
I
that
hate
ship
that.
sailed around. No, no, it reminds me of Met fans. It's not as good as the '86 Mets. Oh, stop it! That's a bygone time.
Yeah.
New stuff can be better. Stop with. I'm a 56-year-old man, and I can admit, what we were talking about before. Not everything is always glory days. Whether it was 5 years ago or 50 years ago. Live in the now. I mean, it's so funny. People say, "Oh, you guys don't know, it's out of touch." No, it's some young people are just like they get this thing in their head dead. That, and by the way, how many of these black and gold guys are real successful? How many titles has Ciampa and
Very
Johnny
true.
Gargano had? Have this undisputed era? What the fuck did they go on to do in AEW? I mean, seriously, I'm sorry. I like a lot of the talent they have here. Roxanne Perez, Lola Vice, Trick Williams. They have a lot of great female talent there. I mean, and this is the future. This is what you're going to see in years to come. And I just some of our fellow podcasters, black and gold, black. It's that shit's dead. It's over. It's not coming back.
Yeah.
So how about give the new guys and girls a chance and stop with the fucking, memory lane, memory lane, memory lane shit. You got to
Yeah.
move on. You got to move
I
on.
agree 100%. My concern is there's not enough spots for the number of people that they're, really putting through the system. I mean, when you look at, listen, Julia, Stephanie Vaca, it's definitely names that could go to the main roster right now if WWE wanted them to.
Yeah.
But, at what price? Listen, I believe Raw will go back to 3 hours. We already broke that the first Raw at minimum will be 3 hours. But if these shows stay at 2 hours, there's definitely going to be a huge number of cuts next year because there's just so many spots on the roster. And even if they do bring Raw back to 3 hours, you start promoting 5-10 people from NXT, even 6. Where are you going to fit them in? You going to start another faction? They're breaking up factions now. So, there's going to be a lot more. Yeah, there's going to be a lot more singles wrestlers and tag teams instead of 5-6 people at a time. So, there's only so many spots for the main roster, but, they're definitely doing a lot of good right now. They definitely don't have a problem as far as talent goes.
I'm laughing because our friend, shout out to Kevin Milwaukee in the chat, is mentioning Minnie Riperton. Kevin, how old are you? Jesus, Minnie Riperton. That's like from our parents' day, DT.
Minnie
the woman who used to
Riperton.
sing, remember Loving You?
Loving
You.
Yeah. It's easy because you're beautiful.
We now know Kevin Milwaukee is in his... Oh, good Lord. See what you did, Kev?
Don't ask me how I know that song. Doctor's office.
We know Kevin Milwaukee is in his 60s. That's what we know.
I hear that shit in the doctor's office still. I mentioned this the other day, Kev. I went grocery shopping. You know what's a popular song that's in the grocery stores now? The Jungle Brothers, I'll House You. From 1988, Girl, I'll House You. You're in my house now. Not say what?
Oh, good Lord.
I mean,
I thought
house music is now.
Mary Jane girls in my house.
Oh, they were house, man. They were hot, man. All night long. And I'll never forget when Big Daddy Kane used that beat and did Smooth Operator.
Oh, yeah.
That was fucking awesome, man. But the only thing that sucked was every hip hop DJ had to mix Mary Jane Girls and Big Daddy Kane at the same time.
Oh,
it was not creative. So, Johnny Rosado, when are we getting a Pepper Gomez or Rosa Parks shirt? Also, DT, can I share the Prince Spaghetti Day story? It is a Thanksgiving story. What's our favorite pie for Thanksgiving? What's your favorite pie, Kev?
I like coconut custard.
That's a good one. For me, it'd either be pumpkin or coconut custard.
I don't like pumpkin. I like it pumpkin spice. And someone got me a pumpkin coffee they brought to my house the other day. I'm like, I don't drink that. Thank God she ended up drinking it. But I was just like, I hate pumpkin spice. I just it's not a flavor that appeals to me. I know a lot of people in the fall are into pumpkin flavor, not me.
Yeah. As far as the Prince Spaghetti Day story, I'll be pretty quick with this because I know a lot of people at a long time listen like, oh my God, not this again. Thanksgiving back in 1990, it's either 92 or 93. I'm pretty sure it was 92 or 93, whatever football game it was where the Dallas Cowboys were playing on Thanksgiving Day. And I think that player accidentally kicked the football in the end zone. It's a very infamous moment for the Cowboys. Whatever year that was, this was the Thanksgiving. I was dating a Jewish girl at the time, Rochelle. And we went over her uncle's house for Thanksgiving dinner. And they were, hardcore Jewish, like beanies and everything. So I walk in and I'm an Italian guy and all they did was make fun of me. I mean, listen,
Really.
yeah, I'm never gonna cry to race card because I never got abused the way others have been with their race. But if you want to ever cite racism my way, that was it. I think at the time I always felt that some Jewish people were more racist than any black person ever was towards me back in that time. But I walked in there like, is matzo ball soup okay? We don't have any of that lasagne. And they would say it like instead of lasagna, they would say lasagne. And I'm like, no. I work for Ben's Best. It's a Jewish deli. You work for Ben's Best. They don't hire Italians. I'm like, no, I was the only Italian ever to work for Ben's Best. Oh my God, are
Really?
you serious? Why would they hire you? You must be really good at what you do. And they were just like really mocking me the whole time I was there. And I kept looking at my girlfriend at the time and she like felt bad and everything. And I was just thinking to myself, like, wow, you got assholes for relatives. It was the first time I ever met them and they were just nothing but rude and they were mad. It's almost like the scene from Goodfellas where you're like Karen's parents are gonna meet like Ray Liotta for the first time and she sees the chain and she like hides it and they're like, like you're part Jewish. Like they were just mad that I was Italian. I mean, I just got and they were like, oh, Prince Anthony, Prince Spaghetti Day, because that's an infamous commercial when I was a kid. So that's what they were doing. That's the Prince Spaghetti Day story. So they were just using every Italian reference they possibly can to make fun of me. So
Nice.
yeah. And I stood. I remember watching the football game, and all I remember is that Dallas Cowboys. I think it was Leon Lett. I think Dorian. I think you're right. I think it was the Leon Lett game. I'm pretty sure that was the game. 1994. He says, "Yeah, that makes sense because I broke up with her in 1996." So yeah, that's about right. So that's the Prince Spaghetti Day story. Casey is raw. Thank you for the 10 spot, Casey. And I want to shout at everybody who is still hanging out. We are 2 hours and 10 minutes in. We still got about 300 of you hanging out. And
Yeah, let's keep going.
yeah, we keep going. He thinks it's a good idea for us to react to our show when we heard the Benoit tragedy. Um, what he's basically saying, guys, is, one thing that Kevin and I are most infamous for is live streaming the night of the Benoit tragedy after Raw when we learned that Chris Benoit murdered his family and took his own life. We wanted to do a listen along and react to it. The problem is there's like 5 guys on the show already and the audio quality is really bad. And I did a couple of tests where I would talk over it and it just sounds brutal. It's not something that we can just like play along and react to it. The only thing we could do is just talk about how our feelings have changed over the years. And I got news for you. I don't think my feelings have changed all that much. I think I'm a little bit more sensitive now as far as what I say about it because, one of the things, and forgive me, guys, for those who are going to get upset with me, one of the things that I said the night of the Benoit tragedy, when we were trying to understand why Chris did what he did, and the only thing that we could come up with was that Nancy had, I believe, filed for divorce before, or did an order of protection before. There is a criminal complaint publicly that she went against Chris. This was, I don't know, months before, a year before. I don't remember exactly when. But one thing that we always knew about Nancy, hearing it from wrestlers, hearing it from rumors, is that you did not, if you were friends with Nancy, she was a doll. If she didn't like you, she was a bitch. And if you were in a relationship with her, she knew how to push your buttons to really, really tick you off. And I said that night, the only thing I can think of is that she probably threatened to leave Chris and take his kid with her and expose his steroid abuse and all the things that he had hidden. And he snapped and he killed her. And then he didn't want his son to go through life knowing that, he did that to mommy. And he thought that he was doing a good thing by, like giving him something to sedate him. And, I'll never understand it because I'm not a killer. I don't have the mindset of being a killer. But the thing is, that night, I thought, look, no matter how much of a bitch she could have been towards him and threatened to take everything, she still did not deserve to be killed. But that was my feeling that night. And all these years later, when somebody says to me, what do you think happened? I honestly think that that's what happened. I think that she threatened to leave him, take everything, expose him, and he fucking flipped. And what happened happened.
I think that's the case as well. I agree with you. She probably, I hate to use the stupid word triggered, but something like set him off. Let's say set him off instead of triggered. And he lost it and committed the heinous act, and then
Yeah.
committed another heinous act, and then
Unforgivable.
offed himself. Because everybody knows I was a huge fan of woman Nancy, Fallen Angel, as I first knew her from 1984. Again, first pull-out poster in Inside Wrestling on my wall, 1984. I'm 15 years old, and any clipping, picture, black and white, pull out from any magazine. I'd buy two magazines so I can have one in pristine condition, and the other one I could put pictures of Nancy or anybody else, a wrestler that I liked on on my wall, and put a collage of wrestling on my wall. And she was in a lot of those pictures. I mean, so
Yeah.
you talk about someone who's a talk about my childhood, so to speak. She was my, yeah, there I would say like the first poster girl. No, before that I did have Three's Company, Suzanne Summers and stuff, but I was like 12, 13 years old. But at 15, where I'm getting older and like knowing what I like in a woman, uh, she was it. She reminded me of Valerie Bertinelli from One Day at a
Oh,
Time for
sure.
some
Yeah.
reason. Like a Valerie Bertinelli was an evil Satan worshiper.
Yeah.
So
like the dark side of One Day at a Time. Yeah, like what
yeah,
happens
dogs.
after
Yeah,
when the lights are
yeah,
off?
exactly,
Schneider, you
exactly.
fucking pervert.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, it's fucked up, man. It's crazy, and we'll never know. Truthfully, it's sad. It's sad that it happened. I don't. I just, it's a night that I really don't like revisiting. I mean, it was just surreal, but it's pretty wild as it went down because we had what over 1,000 people, 2,000 people tuning in that night, and it was
Yeah, I
just,
remember.
it was crazy. It was crazy. Um, Thank you for that. Too Cool Crew. Say that fast 10 times. He's turned 30 years old today. He
Oh, happy
wants our
birthday.
thoughts. Yeah, happy birthday. Too Cool Crew. He wants our thoughts. Is it a bad thing if he focuses more on the entertaining side of wrestling and telling a story and not focus too much on 5-star matches like everybody else? Just
Yeah,
moves.
absolutely. No, totally. I mean, you could totally watch wrestling for the storyline. Listen, when I watched back in the day, I mean, you think, when we were watching, me and my brother watching UWF and Missing Link and One Man Gang are teaming up against, saw Jim Duggan and, Ernie Ladd. It wasn't exactly a wrestling classic, but it was like just, Missing Link would be slamming, banging his head everywhere, running around the ring, headbutting everybody, grabbing the tuft of the back of his hair. Again, there's a lot of showbiz, obviously, to wrestling, and a lot of characters and color. Even back then, I mean, there were matches. We watched the NWA and we see Magnum TA have a half-hour match with Tully Blanchard on TV. But then we would see Boogie Woogie Man, Jimmy Valiant, come out, the boy from New York City, and dance with a bunch of large women at ringside. I remember that DT when Jimmy and Bugsy McGraw would dance with the women in the
Sure.
aisles, and we enjoyed that as much as we enjoyed the Magnum, classic wrestling match. The Kabuki coming out and spinning around, spinning himself around, and blowing the mist. It's all showbiz. I mean, and you can enjoy it for the reasons that you want to. It doesn't. So somewhere along the lines, people started shaming fans, DT, about like characterization and the showbiz part of it, and the color and the glitz and all that stuff. And it's like, yeah, but he's not a good wrestler. Yeah, but he's not a good wrestler. I don't think Akeem One Man Gang was Lou Thez, but he was entertaining. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? When he was dancing the Jive Soul Bro, that shit was fucking fun. That shit was funny as shit. I remember rolling when he'd come out and do the shucking and jiving with Slick, and Slick's dancing with him. I mean, that shit was just, I didn't
And
remember how his match went, DT. I just remember the Jive Soul Bro dance.
and the
I don't even
23
remember
year
if the match was
olds
any good.
and the 23-year-olds of what culture that wasn't even alive at the time will try to convince you on YouTube that was
It was
one of the
racist, yeah.
most hated bullshit racist gimmicks
Oh,
that,
bullshit. He
yeah,
was
fuck
over.
you. I know.
No, same thing with Dusty Rhodes with the Look at them. They embarrassed Dusty. Dusty was having a ball with him and what's her name? What was his
Sapphire.
manager's name?
Sapphire.
Sapphire dancing. The crowd was all on their feet. Same thing. Ultimate Warrior didn't have skills. Yeah, when he came out the music, people lost their fucking minds. And when he was running around the ring, everyone was out of their seat. So again, don't let people shame you for liking the showbiz aspect, like the storylines, the characters, the comedy. Even our boy Cross is getting more into comedy now, and they're like, "Oh, he's not the killer he was an NXT bald." Yeah, haircut really makes somebody. This is the direction he's supposed to go in, and guess what? He's loving it. And the Miz will help elevate him because maybe he was meant, DT, because we know him a different way. He's got a very good sense of humor, and if he
Sure.
becomes a humorous character with Miz, good for him because maybe that was what was supposed to happen. Does anybody remember when Santino came into this company, Morella? He was a serious shoot style wrestler. Remember that, DT?
Yeah.
Remember he came in as a shooter. He came Dean Malenko. And then he became, the Cobra, and some people didn't like it, but guess what? It got him famous, and it got him over, and the guy was on TV in a major segment every fucking week for like 5 years.
Yep.
So again, the characters, the storylines, it's a combination of everything, right, DT? Where you get the
Yeah.
great matches, and you say, "Oh, CM Punk, that match with Drew McIntyre," but then you get like a funny contract signing, and cutting promos on each other. Randy Owens or Kevin, and it's there's no match to it, but you like the interaction. So again, like wrestling for all the different multiple reasons you
Sure.
do. It's not one thing; it's a bunch of things.
Amen. I am more storyline driven these days than anything else because that gets me invested in seeing a match. One of my favorite matches of all time is Hulk Hogan versus The Rock. And that was not a clinic, but the entertainment, the fans, the commentary, the performances by both guys, everything came together that night. And I will take that over a 5-star match any day of the week.
Me too. Yeah, no, it's all the memories I have again are mostly a lot of silly gimmicky shit, but that wrestling is a TV show. Let's not forget it. It's a TV show.
Yeah,
Let's not forget
exactly. Shout out to Jerry Ramey. With the wise man back with Roman, he thinks Roman versus Solo will end and we'll get Roman and Jacob Fatu heading into WrestleMania. Paul Heyman is at his best as a cunning manipulator, even as a babyface. I don't think we're going to get Roman and Jacob Fatu at Mania.
Jacob Fatu's he's 2 to 3 years away from being in WrestleMania main event. Jacob Fatu's not even remotely ready. Not even remotely. He's not even going to be in the conversation. CM Punk and Roman Reigns is marquee money. Jacob Fatu doesn't even still get a reaction from half the crowd, guys. Again, you got to put your fandom aside. Stop with the what you think and take a big look at it. Watch the show. When he gets announced, there's no rousing ovation for him. He does a couple of spots because Roman Reigns is letting him beat him up. So that's why people are oohing and eyeing. It's a show. He's not really beating anybody. This is a program. So again, I've seen it many times. They introduce each guy in the bloodline. I don't hear anybody going, Jake, Fatu. Where are those chants? That's what he needs to get to the main event at WrestleMania. By the way,
reminds me of Braun Breaker.
Well, Braun Breaker's ahead of Jacob Fatu.
No, what I'm saying is when Braun Breaker was in NXT still, there was a lot of people saying, "Oh, he's ready for the main roster. You got to put him in WrestleMania." And WWE kept him in NXT for another year. A year.
And he's still a year away.
Yeah. And they felt
from a main event.
Yeah, they felt
the program.
Yeah. They said take their time, no rush. Let him, he's ready now, but we're just going to take that little bit extra. He came to the main roster, and even when he came to the main roster, it's still they were trying to find their place with him. They weren't sure if he was going to be heel, babyface. They were going back and forth, a little confusing. Now, just his personality and his charisma is starting to come out, and the fucking fans are eating it up, and you could see it coming together on TV. So, and it took a couple of years.
Right. There's 10 guys ahead of him in line to get in the main event before him. Same thing with Jacob Fatu's a year and a half away. Braun Breaker's probably a year away.
I agree.
From main events in WrestleMania.
I agree. Solo Sikoa, he's doing a good job, but Solo Sikoa, to me, I don't think he'll main event a Mania, but
nah, no way.
No, Jerry says that he feels Solo is a bit too young to match the experience of a wise man. Jacob is a mad destroyer. I agree, but I'm with Kev. The way the storylines are, especially with The Rock returning. The 41, they want a top 40. And putting Jacob Fatu in the main event on either night of WrestleMania, I don't think is how you do it. WrestleMania 42, maybe. 43, absolutely. But 41,
Well, it
I agree with you. Too
depends
soon.
if he still remains injury free, stays out of trouble. I mean, there's a lot of also factors that have to be proven to a guy like Triple H and Endeavor. No one's going to tolerate anything, playing favorites like Vince McMahon did. So again, it's all testing ground, and you got to wait and see.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for that, Jerry.
Thank you.
Shout out to Blip Blob. Blip
Blip blob.
Blob's birthday. Say that fast 10 times. Blip Blob's birthday is tomorrow. What's
Happy
up,
birthday,
Neil?
Blip blob.
Yeah, Neil bought a shirt through Spring. And we do
Nice.
have blob sizes on Spring, everybody. So, and he says, thank you for all the years of entertainment. You're very welcome, Blip Blob.
Thank you. Thank you. I had
I
a
love
case
that
of Blip
name.
blob one time, but I took some penicillin in it, and we got rid of it.
I like the name except for when my wife uses it on me.
Oh,
She's
that's
like,
terrible.
she's like, you dropped your socks on the floor. All right, I'll pick it up. Stop being a fat blob and pick it up. Like,
Oh my God, that's
no, she doesn't do that. She
no,
doesn't do that. I listen. His sock hits the floor. It's like the greatest thing to my dog. I swear to you, I could keep my socks on, and I actually did this the other day. I had my socks on until about 2:00 in the morning because it was cold in the house. And about 2:00 in the morning, Bella's sleeping, and I took my sock off, and she looked in the corner of her eye and saw I took my sock off, and she jumped up and she went she was obsessed with chewing on my used socks, and would not go to sleep until I gave her the socks.
That's
I don't know why dogs do that, but yeah.
nice.
Thank you, Blob. Blip Blob. Happy birthday, Neil.
Happy birthday. A lot of birthdays.
Yes, pretty cool, man. How do we feel about The Miz eventually taking over the Final Testament, leading to a long-awaited face turn for Karrion Kross? That's from Tyree, and thank you for the 5-spot, Tyree.
Thank you, Tyree. I think my personal opinion, I have no inside knowledge, and I never asked Kevin about angles and stuff. I don't cross that line, no pun intended, when I do chat with Cross. My personal opinion is, again, just as a fan, the team up of Cross and Miz will be a thing. I think you're going to see bye-bye to the Authors of Pain. There won't be a Final Testament. I think it'll be almost like a Mizdow type of team with Cross not doing the gimmick Damien Sandow did, but them being a force together. Miz elevates everybody he teams with. John Morrison, Damien Sandow, Ron Killings. You could just name them. Miz is an asset, and I think that's why they put Cross with him. And that interview they did last week, everyone was talking about. Even people who are Cross haters were like, "That was good. That was good."
Yeah.
That interview him and Miz were doing, that was good. And if this is the direction he's going in, I could see it, DT, Maurice coming in and her and Scarlett being a little devious duo there as the two wives of these two guys. I think there will not be a Final Testament, but within a couple months, I think there will be a new team and a name for the Cross Miz team up. Factions on the way out, makeshift teams are on the way in, and I think this is one of them. And I think it's going to be great for Cross.
By the way, shout out to Cross if he happens to hear this, because I saw him record another video and he was at a cemetery.
Oh,
and
yeah,
I watch
yeah,
a lot of cemetery videos, and I'm curious if that's the cemetery in Arizona off Route 66. I'm curious if that's the cemetery. I want to know, because that cemetery, there's a legendary cemetery in Arizona, and it's like a lot of dirt. There's no grassland because of the heat. And it's it's just a really strange place to be. Like, you'll see a lot of abandoned cars and a lot of it's a really, really wild place to like shoot video at. And I'm pretty sure he was in Arizona when he recorded that.
If it's not there, it's Vegas, because he's spending
it could be Vegas.
time.
Yes.
He's been I know for a fact, even when I texted him not too long ago, he was on his way to Vegas. He used to live there. He used to work for the casinos as a top security guy. He worked for a bunch of talent that used to play some of the Sands and some of the other places over there. but while he was training for wrestling in 2013, 14. So he lived in Vegas. He knows the area very well. And as you know, DT, they're putting a training facility for NXT in Vegas.
Yes,
So I don't know if
yes,
he was
that's
going
good.
down there. He might even have a house down there, if I'm miscorrect. But I think he shot some footage for vignettes while he was in Vegas. Again, not 100% sure, but since you said
So it
desert
might be, yeah,
Arizona,
you might be
I
right.
think it's Nevada. I think it's
Okay,
Nevada.
okay, yeah, it's you're probably right. It wasn't. It's probably Nevada, but it's just a really cool looking cemetery. I mean,
Yeah,
that
no,
is an
yeah,
awesome
very cool.
place to do it. So that
Yeah,
was
very much
awesome.
so.
Do you want to know something? There's a pretty wild pet cemetery that's over there too.
Is there?
And yeah, apparently there's signs there that says do not bury your pets there, but everybody buries their pets there anyway, and they
Oh,
pretty
Jesus.
much let them. They
Yeah,
don't stop. I
good
think the
Lord.
reason being is because it's right along the highway, and there's some, it's complicated, but that
Yeah.
cemetery is a very unique looking cemetery. So
Wow.
Too cool crew with another 10 spot. He's got a 3-part
Thank you.
question. Thank
Okay.
you, Too Cool Crew. Name a wrestler from each era who is not a main eventer but entertaining as hell. Name a favorite gimmick from each era. And should gimmicks make a return in wrestling? I guess we could maybe answer the third one first. I don't think gimmicks ever left. I just think it's a sign of the times that the cartoonish gimmicks I don't think would work in 2024 unless it's just the nostalgia gimmick, like somebody from the 80s or the 90s just rekindling their career.
Yeah, I mean, because people say, I mean, Ultimate Warrior, could that work today? Probably not. What could work today would be Jim Hellwig jacked up as Warrior, maybe some of the makeup and stuff, but not the crazy promos and parts unknown. That couldn't work. But could a guy with frenetic energy, shaking the ropes and fucking placating to the crowd and getting on the top rope and getting the crowd amped with heavy metal intro? Yes, that could work. But the rest of the stuff that comes along with it, the colors and the turquoise and all, and the all the different 80s ish stuff, no, that wouldn't work today. Again, you'd have to revamp a lot of those characters. That like, look, Sting, Surfer Sting. That when people like bring back, sorry, he's first of all, he's almost 70 years. That's so ridiculous. A flat top and the old Sting and doing those moves. First of all, he couldn't do the same moves that old Sting could do. The Crow thing worked to a degree. It kind of was a watered down Crow when he retired, but he wasn't clearly the Crow that he was because he was older. So I'm trying to think of gimmicks that would work today, or someone wearing the Muda, the kabuki, the mist, that could work. Mysterious Japanese evil character wearing makeup, that could work. It all depends, DT. I think it depends. But yeah, there were certain gimmicks clearly. Akeem dancing in the ring, jive soul bro wouldn't work. Even though a lot of us would think it was hysterical, it probably wouldn't work today in the greatest scheme of things. Uh, the rockers, like dressing up, Marty Jannetty show, coming out with bandanas tied around your '80s look. They've tried that retro stuff. It didn't work with the new rockers in the '90s. So I think things have its time. Retro is fun sometimes, but no, DT. I think it's just characters being it's mostly on more heavy on interview and presentation than dressing up, right?
Yeah, AEW, I think their closest is their tag team, the Outrunners, but
Yeah,
I don't
it
think
just
that they,
they're not
I don't know
successful
what
though.
their
They're not really
shelf life.
successful.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're not really successful.
yeah, it's kind of like a niche tag team following. Like I don't see them branching out and becoming, like, I mean, I do expect them to, AEW to push them a little bit further, but that doesn't mean that the overall mainstream wrestling audience is going to be into it. But
Well, that's like DT. Could a guy like Al Snow talking to himself come out with head, or would people be like, "That's offensive to people who are mentally ill"?
yeah,
Again,
I
you have
could
to
see
think
that.
about people pissing on that, right, guys? Like you would think Al Snow talking to the head, and like, oh, he's kind of mocking people who are mentally ill. It's like, ugh. So like that you'd probably get that kind of like roll your eyes thing because we would all love it and go, oh shit, the guy doing a Al Snow gimmick talking to himself stuff, and then you get some idiot from somewhere like puts out some firebombing narrative to try and call it something that it's not. They're just trying to entertain. I was talking about Kerwin White before. DT, That shit is hysterical with him. I take my coffee by the pool, and like soccer moms. I mean, it was just so fucking funny. But again, you could see, and I'm not going to even say half, guys. Let's not even give those idiot type of fans credit for being half of our community. It's like 10%, but they chirp loudest, and they'd be like, "That making fun of blah, 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 making a Mexican guy dress up as a white guy." And by the way, doing it willingly. He wasn't forced to do it, and he was doing it funny. And again, let's have a sense of humor about ourselves and enjoy wrestling again. But again, the 10%, chirpers and screamers and bitch and moaners are going to override, and then they're going to be like, this is not worth it because it's a social media nightmare. Even though, again, it's not a majority of the fans, it's a small minority, but like anything else, one apple spoils the bunch, right? DT
Right.
was the old saying.
Exactly. That
So
happens on
that's what
social
would happen.
media all the time. All the
There you
time. Shout out to the doctor. He mentioned in the chat that he was conceived in a motel on Route 66 in
go. Really?
1957, and his parents were on
Wow.
honeymoon at the time in Vegas.
Oh shit. Oh shit.
That's
Fucking
cool, man. That is
very cool.
cool. That is
Nice.
very cool. Absolutely, man. I'm telling you, I'm intrigued with Route 66 and all the
You are,
stories
man.
that are
You
attached to
gotta
it. Yeah.
you might have to take a trip down there with the wife, DT.
She wouldn't do it. The
Oh, she
heat?
won't.
No. The heat? No way. No
Maybe
way.
Bella will go with you, DT. You and the dog.
She would do it. She would do anything. So
There you
Bella's
go.
awesome. I honestly never thought I would connect to another dog after Peanut, but
No, I saw the picture of you in her lap. You could tell you're
yeah,
very
she
connected and
just,
overjoyed.
my wife gets mad sometimes because, she favors me over her, but Bruno favors her over me. So,
I
Bruno's
hear ya.
her baby and Bella's mine. So as far
Fair's
as
fair.
gimmicks from every era, I think
Yeah.
the best way we could say eras is the 80s, the Attitude Era, and today.
Hmm.
I think because gimmicks are not what they used to be. Back in the 80s, my favorite gimmick was probably George the Animal Steel. And he's also a guy that was not a main eventer, but was entertaining as hell. I would put George Steele on both.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, a lot of our favorite wrestlers from back in the day had a gimmick with it. Roddy Piper, who did main event, let's be honest,
Yeah.
but he's not one known to have many championships. But
Undertaker.
yeah, Undertaker. Well, Undertaker gimmick wise, absolutely, man.
Gimmick.
Undertaker's
Yeah.
one.
Gimmick.
It's that's a gimmick that I tell you, when people say to me, am I surprised that the Undertaker's gimmick is still over all these years later? I am, because you would have thought by now social media, maybe now because he supports Trump, but social media would have been like, oh God, like a dead man. Like, we know he's not dead. Like if he comes out as the dead man, everybody still loses their shit.
Yeah.
It's amazing that still keeps shelf life to this day.
True.
Um, and as far as today with gimmicks, I guess I'm into the Wyatt Six, although I don't like,
Yeah, that's a
the way they've
gimmick
been
right there.
used. I mean, that's probably my favorite gimmick right now because it's so creative and it's a lot of presentation. But gimmicks aren't what they used to be.
Nah, it's changed.
Yeah, and even in the Attitude Era, we didn't really have gimmicks like you did in the '80s. I mean, I enjoyed, Mick Foley doing Cactus Jack, but was that really a gimmick? I don't, it's hard to say, but thank you for that too, Cruel.
Thank you. Thank you.
Speaking of Wyatt's, Jimmy Fingers sent this in with a 5 spot. He thinks this undercard feud with the Wyatts and the Final Testament could be pretty good if Bo loses the Spirit Halloween mask and just uses his real face. And we pointed out on Monday how surreal he looks now, looking like Bray Wyatt. Maybe he doesn't need the mask anymore.
Nah, maybe he doesn't. Again, it's talk about they're not ice cold, but they're kind of cold right now. The Wyatts. Not that the Final Testament are on fire. I think what Cross is doing with Miz is hot, but I don't think the Final Testament as a group is hot. I mean, obviously they took Paul Ellering away. I think there's more age and wear and tear that Paul just couldn't do it as much anymore. But obviously they wrote him out of the storyline that he was injured. Maybe he'll be back for one final hurrah, and they'll give him another television time to just make an appearance again.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the feud looks good on paper. And again, some people are like, oh, Miz is involved, but Miz's involvement actually makes it higher profile. It makes it more entertaining. So I'm glad that Miz is involved because, quite honestly, without Miz there, DT, it might be one of those little yawner. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Not because of putting down any of the guys. I'm a big Dexter Loomis fan. I'm not the biggest Bo Dallas fan. I'm not really big on him. Nice guy and everything, but he's not his brother. Just like Jim Belushi's not John Belushi. Matt is not Jeff. And that's fine. And you can like the other brother. You don't have to be John Belushi fan. You can be Jim Belushi fan. But for me, I like the latter. I'm a Bray Wyatt guy. I'd love to like Bo a lot more. I just don't see him as that guy to replace him. Just because you have the same last name and you maybe sound alike, look a little alike, doesn't mean you could recreate that person in that person's image. I think the fans always look to family and blood, and Jimmy Uso could just be like Jay. Well, he's not. Jay is much more over than Jimmy. Why is that? Jay has possibly more talent. Same thing, Bray, possibly more talented than Bo. So it's not a bad thing to say. It's a real thing to say, right, DT?
sure.
You know, brothers are just that. They're related. They're brothers, right? Same last name, same parents. Doesn't mean they have same talent. How many baseball players? What's his name? What was the name of the Oakland A's? Two brothers who played on the same team, one after the other. Giambi, Jason Giambi,
Oh,
Jeremy
Jason and
Giambi was right. Yeah, Jeremy.
Jeremy Giambi.
Yeah, right. Jeremy was more of a journeyman. I mean, he had some decent seasons, but Jason was clearly the star. And I remember the Oakland A's, Billy Beane even got Jeremy Giambi because he said the last name will spark memories of his brother. So let's pick him up and bring him here because he's a Giambi. So again, it's kind of like kind of a mind fuck with the fans. But
I remember when the Royals had George and Ken Brett together.
yeah, George and Ken Brett. Yeah. So again, sometimes and it doesn't diminish the brother who maybe is not as good. Matt is a Hall of Famer as Jeff is, but let's be honest, Jeff was always that guy more than Matt was. Even when Matt was doing the gimmick with the what was it? Woke Matt Hardy, Awakened Matt Hardy,
Oh
whatever
yeah,
what's it called? Broken Matt Hardy.
Broken Matt.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. Jeff is still number one. Yeah,
Yeah,
and you know what? And Jeff is still top guy in that duo.
it's
Jeff is still
true.
the
It
guy.
is true. Hey,
He
I just
is, and
thought of
everyone
another
know.
brothers,
Yeah.
Phil and Joe Negro in the Yankees.
Phil and Joe Negro. Yeah, that's another good one. I mean, just, again, I think in the fans' minds, oh, it's a lateral move. Give the gimmick to his brother. Sometimes the lateral move is to give it to someone who's not related to him at all, and he could do it
Right,
better.
right.
But I like Loomis. Listen, God bless Nikki Cross. She's okay. She is, to me, hanging on by a thread in this company. How many gimmicks, guys, have they given this woman since fucking what was that, Sanity? Geez, she's had 5, 6 makeover gimmicks.
Yeah.
And come on, Eric Rowan's in his early 40s, big lumbering guy. He can't do much. So Joe Gacy looks like one of us. I couldn't separate Joe Gacy from anyone in the crowd, to be honest with you. It's a smaller version than Kevin Owens, but doesn't have Kevin Owens. He can talk, but I don't see. I thought Loomis would break out DT because he's got a cool look, but I don't know. I just don't know what's going to happen with the Wyatts, and if they lose definitively to Cross and Miz, I don't know where they go from there.
Yeah. Well, only time will tell. And it seems like they're finally starting to heat these guys up. But once they're done with Miz and Cross, then what do you do? I still think Judgment Day is next on the radar, but it's really going to depend how much WWE uses them. And so far, they've been on TV for what, 7 months? And they haven't done a whole lot. And I still don't understand what their mission statement is. Yeah, I still don't know what their mission statement is. And I think that's one of the problems too. We're supposed to, just enjoy it. That's what a lot of people say. No, I kind of want to know, like, what was the reason that, all those vignettes about they lied and this and that, I don't want them to be the bully police. And that's what kind of it feels like they have been, the bully police. Let's
and the crowd reaction is getting less and less when they come out.
Yep.
It's getting less and less.
Speaking of crowd reaction, Umar went to Wembley in 2023. He says there were quite a few fans that hated CM Punk, and he got tickets only to see Punk versus Joe, how things change. Umar, I remember that clearly when Punk was doing the Collision stuff. You had the EVPs feeding information to those media guys. We won't name, them, but I'm sure you could observe who we're talking about, pun intended. And they were painting that narrative that CM Punk was not a team player, and they were putting a lot of negative stuff online. And their intention was to sabotage everything CM Punk was doing. I mean, I
Yeah.
think people forget the week in and week out bad press that CM Punk was getting while he was in AEW for that final year. And
Oh, yeah.
so I don't blame a lot of fans who were mad at the time. Like you said earlier in the show, seems like a lot of almost every WWE fan is quite happy with what CM Punk has done in the last year.
Yeah, and again, your environment, you guys, again, and it can happen the same thing for you guys. If you're unhappy in a relationship and you leave your ex and now you're the new boyfriend, girlfriend, whoever you get together with, whatever your preference is, and you're like a different person, and then that old ex comes out and goes, "Oh, you should have seen her when she was with me. She was a bitch." Well, this guy, he was a philanderer and a cheater. Well, he's not that way with me. And it's because you might be happier and you're matched up with a person that you're meant to be with. You don't have to carry that baggage and let someone, basically make some definitive version of you that you can't change, or that maybe you were unhappy and now you're happier here and this is the real you. Wasn't the you wanted to be when you were with this other situation. Relationships, jobs, DT, I am a totally different guy, a worker in this club in Brooklyn than I was in Queens pre-COVID. A completely different guy. The guys who work with me said, that's the guy I know from back in the day. Guys like, this guy, you're back to where you used to be. For a while, we thought we lost you, Kev, because I was unhappy. You know what I'm saying? I was unhappy for a while. And if people close to you notice it, and same thing, I think CM Punk was miserable in that company in that final year. He thought everyone was against him. And it seems like he was kind of right, DT. And he
Yeah.
was like, God, and I'm surprised this guy didn't have a nervous breakdown. I give Phil Brooks as a human being credit for not fucking, caving in. There was so much there was so much disrespect shown towards him. And he really didn't get it because I'm like, I'm drawing money for you motherfuckers. Support me. It's not even I'm a star and you're not. I am money in this company, which helps you guys, which helps the company. Why are you against? Because you're a dick, because you're not friends with my friends. You're a dick. Because he didn't have beef with certain people, DT, and they took the beef that he had with other people and projected it onto themselves.
Right.
And that's just ridiculous. It's like if someone said to me now, I still don't like Don Tony, I'm like, well, I love him right now. So I'm sorry you feel that way. And DT would probably say the same thing to someone who said some shit about me. He's like,
Sure.
that's not the Kev I'm working with right now. So that's your problem. But
Right.
unfortunately, you get people who jump on the bandwagon and go, oh, you hate him? Okay, I hate him too. By the way, I am never doing that again for the rest of my life. I am judging people how they treat me. I'm sure you agree with me, Anthony. It's you treat me good, I am never going to shit talk you to anybody. I can tell you right
Absolutely.
now. Not you, and I'm talking about anybody.
No, just in
Anybody.
general.
Yeah,
And
in general, you're good to me. You got my loyalty. I will not turn on you. If you did nothing to me, you are not going to get any heat from me. I will say, nah, he's cool with me, man. That's your problem. I'm not
yeah,
getting involved in that shit.
WrestleMess sent this in, and this is perfect timing. And thank you for the 5 spot. What's more
Yeah, thank you.
toxic, wrestling or political Twitter?
Jesus.
I listen. I think
Probably
at the end of the
politics for
day,
me. Yeah.
yeah, politics. I mean, somebody, fucking president elect almost got his head blown off because
Yeah.
of political Twitter. I
It's
mean,
crazy.
you know,
Wrestling. Yeah, we're not going that far in wrestling. Yeah, I mean, come on.
yeah, I mean, as bad as wrestling fans are, I mean, when you usually hear like weird things happening, they're usually not wrestling fans. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, you had that guy that was, obsessed with Sonya Deville, and then the one that was obsessed with Liv Morgan recently. That, that those are mentally unstable people. That
Yeah.
unfortunately they focused on two women that were in wrestling. We go back to the 80s with the obsession with Jodie Foster, if you remember, with the John Lennon stuff and everything. Yeah, it's the earliest one that I remember.
Shooting Reagan for Jodie Foster. Yeah.
Yeah, shooting Reagan for Jodie Foster. I mix it up with John Lennon, but
Was that 81, 81, 80, 81,
Reagan was 81, and
81.
and Lennon was 80,
80,
I believe. I think Lennon
80.
was
Yeah, it
80.
was 80.
I still
Hmm.
remember when Geraldo covered that. He went to New York City and covered the death of John Lennon, and I still remember him covering that.
Yeah,
That's
no,
one of
I
the weird
remember.
things. I was very young, but I still remember him covering that. But now, political Twitter is just
It's
that
worse.
much more
Worse.
toxic, and it's bizarre because again, they tried to convince people that someone was a Nazi, a racist, taking away women's rights, wants to put people in jail, wants to do this, do that. And then he wins the election. And literally 24 hours later, I'll have lunch with him. I'll go to Mar-a-Lago and talk to him. Let's go get along. It's like, Oh, so we're supposed to accept the Nazi to
It's
racing
almost
as
like
an.
wrestling. It's almost like wrestling,
It
DT. It's
is.
almost
It
like wrestling
is.
feuds.
It is. It's crazy, but you are so right. Um, Demarcus, shout out to you, my friend. 7 months as a channel member. Thoughts on BFAB? Seems to be well liked and has been putting in the work with Natty and trying to get better. He thinks that she's hot and has potential. I,
I,
I tell you,
I
I'm
like her.
pleasantly surprised so far.
I like her. I've had a few interactions with her on Instagram. She's pretty nice to the fans. Sometimes answers the fan. Uh, I don't know. Got a couple of notifications on things that I said about her. Gave me a couple of thumbs up. So again, she seems to be cool and appreciate the fans that support her. See, yeah, I heard good things about her from Cross. So I mean, she seems like a really nice girl. And wants to do better. Is working with Natty. So yeah, I like BFAB. I think that they can maybe find a place for it. And we talked about this before, DT. If you're liked and people are like, we want to see this girl do well, they will go the extra mile for you, give you more chances, not just give up on you and cut you loose.
They'll
Because a
give
lot of
you a
people like
shot.
to think they'll give you a shot. A lot of people think WWE is cruel and what they did to Tegan Knox is so wrong. It wasn't wrong. They gave her a lot of chances, I think, and she was, had dealings with injuries and certain other things. I think with BFAB and stuff, her attitude is really what puts her over the top. I hear nothing but nice things about her. Again, she has nice interactions with the fans. She knows how to navigate on social media. Even when I saw people say some not so nice things about her talent, she didn't clap back at them. She didn't get into it. So I think she's got a good head on her shoulders, and I think she wants to be better. Almost like, who does she remind me of in a lot of ways? I'm trying to think. Not Trish. She reminds me of somebody. Almost, maybe even like a Naomi. Remember when Naomi was with the Funkadactyls and she was known for dancing and not wrestling, and her and that girl Cameron, they went their separate ways and went training.
Yes. Okay.
Naomi took it really seriously, and now Naomi is considered a legit star now in the women's division. Now, if again, and people point out, yeah, I don't know if she's got the coordination. Well, let's see. She hasn't wrestled in a while. She has been working with Natty in training facility, and let's see, maybe she does. And if she gets it, she'll be okay. If she doesn't, she gave it her best try. But they're not just giving up on her. And she's got another shot. Let's see what she does with it. And I'm rooting. And yeah, it's easy to root for someone who's likable. So I agree with you, Demarcus. I like her. I think she's attractive too. And I think, again, likable is very important. It's almost as important as having the natural skills.
I'm getting the same vibes of her as I got about 9 or 10 months ago with Last Legend. There
Yeah.
was a point that I did not see Last Legend really ever making it as a wrestler. And then she started putting it together and she was putting in the work. And then you started to see it, in the ring, and you were like, oh, okay, I could see where this is going. And now look at what she's doing. So
Yeah, if it's meant to
similar
be,
path to me.
it's meant to. Yeah, it's similar path. It's meant to be. It's meant to be. It's not always someone's out to get you. It's sometimes it doesn't fucking work out. But when it does work out, it's a happy story.
Yeah. Scorpio 1117. We talked about this a little bit earlier, but we could give our overall synopsis. Who do we think attacked the beast? Jay Cargill.
I'm just gonna go with Charlotte Flair.
I just was thinking about BFAB. I was like, I wonder if they could do. Wouldn't that be a curveball if BFAB was the one to be revealed to be the one?
I just think it's someone who needed to felt Jade had to be taken out as like a threat. Remember, they had the little stare down. Do you guys remember when Jade first came in? Her and Charlotte
Yes,
did have a little stare down. You guys
yes.
remember that? So let's pretend that they're still connecting the storyline from a year ago. Again. First I was Naomi, but I changed my mind a couple hours later. I'm gonna go with Charlotte Flair.
Let me ask you this: right now, if you had a choice, Bianca Belair versus Jade Cargill at WrestleMania, or Charlotte Flair versus Jade Cargill at WrestleMania?
Bianca, because Bianca will make her look good. Charlotte is not going to give her that leniency to, I got to carry this fucking girl. I think Bianca will look out for her girl, and Bianca will feel that's a project for her. Makes her look good, makes her look good, makes her look bad, makes her look bad. Where Charlotte, I think, wouldn't give a fuck if Jade Cargill looked bad, but Charlotte wouldn't want to be involved in a fucked up match. I could picture
True.
Charlotte being passive aggressive about it on tweets, even in interviews, being, she's not ready. She wasn't ready to be in the ring with me. I don't know what to tell you, where Bianca will be like, my girl did the best she could, like Bianca, because Bianca's a sweetheart and Bianca doesn't want to bury anybody. And I think Bianca feels a responsibility for Jade's development. Don't you, DT? I think Bianca feels a responsibility for it.
Yeah,
Like
I
teacher
mean,
student. Yeah.
yeah, nobody's mentioned Nia Jax or Tiffany Stratton. I just don't see either one of them being the ones to have done it.
Could be Peppa. Could be Peppa Gomez.
Yeah,
It
somebody
could
brought
be
them up
Peppa
early.
Gomez.
Hate Ball, thank you for the 5 spot. Hate, would
Thank
we
you.
be interested in the Battle Bowl Lethal Lottery returning? Bring it to either Raw, SmackDown, NXT. Have the winner get a title shot at the Royal Rumble or another premium live event. I
That's an old WCW thing, right?
I loved the Lethal Lottery concept back at that time.
That was
I still
WCW.
remember.
Right?
Yeah, I remember Cactus Jack teamed up with. I don't remember who he teamed up with, but it was a babyface. He ended up
Oh,
DDTing him after
was
the
that?
match.
Oh, was it Max Payne?
It might, no, I think they teamed up as a tag team later on. They were a great tag team.
Okay. Man Mountain Rock. Yeah.
I don't remember who he teamed up with, but I remember they lost and he gave a DDT and I fucking popped. 90s guy says Max Payne. You could be right. I mean, I always thought it was like a more generic baby face at the time, but you could be right. But I would love to see Battle Bowl brought back. I mean, it would
Yeah. I
be,
mean, they
it'd
have the
get
rights to it, right?
complicated.
Since they bought WCW's whole thing, they have the rights to it, right?
Sure. I mean,
Yeah.
I think it would be complicated if they didn't work it and they actually did pair people together that were not planned. But yeah, I would love to see it brought back. I think that would be
Yeah.
pretty
That
cool.
would be cool. Mhm.
Even you know what? Bring it back in NXT first and see how it's handled in NXT and see how the crowd reacts to it. And if NXT,
Yeah.
if it really
Not a
works,
bad
then you
idea.
could consider, yeah, you consider on a
Not a bad idea.
yeah. Ralph Ramirez, shout out to you, my friend.
Thank
Good
you, bro.
evening. In 2002, WWE ran a promo called I Was There, giving people to present their moments. And I do remember it vaguely. And basically, what it was in '02, everyone, is they would show, I think, on the video, just random fans saying I was there, or it might have even been the wrestlers. I was there when
Right.
Shawn Michaels came down from the rafters. I was there when
Right.
Hulk Hogan body slammed Andre the Giant. I think
Right.
that's what it was. For him, his moment was the SmackDown after 9/11 that he was there.
Oh, Lillian Garcia singing the national anthem. Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, that was powerful.
Yeah. Yeah.
That
No, that was
that gave
very
me
good.
chills for real.
What
That
was your live show? You were there moment, TT.
Hogan beating uh, Iron Sheik for the belt.
Oh wow, yeah, 84. You were there, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm on video too. I mean, when I went with my friends and my friend Vinny was on my shoulders and he came down the rampway and my friend Vinny was flexing and we were just pumped up and it was just I had the results in my wallet for about 5 or 10 years afterwards. When
Wow.
and I remember clearly we went to school the next. Pretty sure it was the next day. I think it was a Monday night. We went to school the next day and we couldn't stop talking about it. And then the Daily News, I don't think had it in the paper until either the Tuesday or the Wednesday. And
Probably a couple of days after. I remember that I was in high school too. I mean, I'm a year older than you. But I remember too that was the talk of the cafeteria. The tribal little group that we were, there was like 3 out of 10 of us who hung out in the group that were wrestling fans. So
yeah,
my friend Jimmy, and my friend Phil were all like just besides us. I was like Hogan won the belt, like it was great, and our other friends were like who? It's like the guy, and then I know we had to say the guy who fought Rocky 82, wrestler versus boxer.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
that guy, okay. But and who would know that, like, again, Hulkamania was kind of a thing that would be still, I guess, relevant to this day. But to me, DT, my I was there moment, and
I
we
know what
knew
you're
it
gonna
when we
say.
saw it. I don't know if you know it. I don't know if you know it. But Owen Hart dropping Austin on his head in SummerSlam
Oh, okay,
'97.
okay, okay. All right.
With SummerSlam '97.
I thought you were gonna say ECW one night stand.
No, that too. I was there for that too. When Sabu jumped off the Raw sign, that we were there, and we were sitting behind Ken Shamrock, with whoever his girlfriend or wife was at the time. He was sitting in the crowd. He was just about to sign the WWE. But we were at SummerSlam, and shout out to Phil Rhea from Turnbuckle Throwbacks. Phil was right next to me, and sitting in the seat, Draper on one side of me, Phil on the other side. SummerSlam '97 in Jersey at the Meadowlands. Austin versus Owen Hart, where you guys saw Austin was almost paralyzed, and we even saw. I remember even saying to Phil, He's hurt. He's fucking hurt. And then when he rolled him up, like, oh my god. And then when Austin was back, the air came out of the crowd. We thought that we would see the Austin Phenom that just launched months ago. Before that, that this is when Austin was within his first year of being over as Stone Cold, and we were like, Owen Hart just ruined Austin's career. And
Wow.
like lo and behold, like, thank God Austin would go on to be okay. But the air just came out of the crowd because we knew when they were bringing him at ringside, Austin was definitely hurt. That was Everyone's like, Austin's really hurt. Austin's really hurt. So that was like I was there moment, because I remember just even Phil saying to me, he might be done. He might be done. I'm like, oh my God, could you imagine he's just launching his Stone Cold and he's done from a fucking bullshit pile driver?
Unbelievable.
And yeah, unbelievable. So that's SummerSlam. Listen, the main event that night was, what was it, Taker and
Not
against Bret
Sid,
Hart.
was it?
No, Taker and Bret Hart, and that's when
Okay.
Shawn Michaels super kicked, I think,
Oh, yeah,
Undertaker.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And one of Pillman's last matches, because he died in October before Bad Blood. So it was Pillman's last pay-per-view match. I think he fought Goldust. He was kidnapped Marlena at that point, if you
Sure, sure, I
remember.
remember. Yeah.
But yeah, him dropping, and again, we thought we saw we were there for the rise of Austin, and we thought we were there for the demise of Austin. I seriously
Unbelievable.
left that arena thinking Austin is done. I can't believe Owen Hart fucking killed this guy's career. Yeah, I was kind of hating on Owen Hart after that for a little while. I gotta admit. I
uh,
gotta admit.
Austin came back, thank God.
Yeah, thank God.
Obviously
Yeah,
never the same, but enough where he was at the top for a little while. So
yeah.
very cool. Very cool. I was not expecting that one, but that's very,
Mhm.
very cool. Especially you were with Phil and Drapes and all that. That's
Yeah,
even
yeah. I
better.
was
You with your friends?
yeah.
That's awesome.
We took up a whole row. A bunch of guys from bands, a couple of guys who worked at the club. John Doorman fronted all the money for 15 tickets for that show for everybody, and he was getting paid back by everybody in the parking lot. Me and Phil, by the way, first ones to pay John the Doorman back. So John will even say that. You and Phil, first guys to give me my money back. Thank you.
That's awesome, man.
Uh,
Shout out to AEW Neckbeards. I lurk and always see his tweets
yeah.
on Twitter. He said,
He's
"Glad to
funny as
see that
hell.
we
Yeah.
are reunited." So yeah, we've
Thank
been
you.
back for a little while, so we're having
Yeah, thank
fun.
you. Yeah, he's funny. He posts some funny shit.
He is, he is. I see his stuff pop up in my feed all the time. So big shout out to AEW Neckbeards. He is very disliked on social media, and I think he
Oh,
takes that
that's
as a
great.
badge of honor.
Oh, he does. He takes it as a total bad. He gets
Sure.
named with like JD and all these other people that they put on blast for the AEW tweets. So it's pretty funny.
Yeah. Shout out to you, AEW Neckbeards. Shout out to 90s guy. Good
Mhm.
day from Australia. Been a listener for good 12 years or so.
Oh, thank
Maybe
you.
more. Who do we think Cena will feud with in 2025 before he retires? I think
Uh,
he's going to be feuding with a lot of people.
I think Drew McIntyre. I think.
Yes,
I mean, name all your top heels, guys. I just Drew McIntyre. I have a feeling is going to be one of them, because he's going to be like, I always wanted to take you. Like, you could picture Drew McIntyre's promos on Cena, especially since Drew McIntyre has gotten really good in the promo social media posting game. They'll have some. I think of McIntyre Cena feud will be very, very entertaining.
I think Bronson Reed will go at it with Cena. I think Randy Orton will go at it with Cena. I think CM Punk wants, I don't know if they'll be feuding, but I know he wants to have a match with Cena one more time.
Hmm.
I think they're going to go through the gamut. I think there's, if we got to wait and see for Netflix to debut, because Cena, I think, is going to be on both brands. I think Cena is going to be one of those crossovers
I
that will
think
make
so.
appearances on Raw. He'll make appearances on SmackDown. So I think he will absolutely have a return match with Solo Sikoa and probably beat him.
Hmm.
I see numerous matches with Cena. Uh, I be prepared, guys. Cena's going to be on TV a hell of a lot more than I think some people realize. It's his last year, and he's gonna be pretty much committed to it. And I just hope his body could hold out.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, he had that one match. I don't know if it was against Austin Theory, but I remember he had that one match, and after the match was over, like, he did an interview a couple of months later, and he said that his body was so broken down after that match. And I was like, that match was okay, but like, really? He got broken down that much? Now you're going to do a whole year? It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, something seemed a little bit off with that interview, but we'll see what happens. So we have a few more guys, and we're gonna wrap it up because we are approaching the 3 hour mark. So we're gonna start bringing this home. Um, Tyree would like to know: have we seen Terrifier 3 yet? Seems like horror may have finally found a new addition to the memorable horrible horror characters.
Well,
Terrifier
just
3.
no, I haven't seen it, and I know people were affiliated with the first one, and the second one. I know one of the producers. He was a manager here for a couple of rock bands back in the day. Then he moved to California and got involved with the horror industry and all that stuff. Shout out to Steve, Uncle Creepy, they call him in the horror community. I know Steve for a long, long time, and he was affiliated with Terrifier 1 and 2. I saw some of Terrifier 1 and 2. I didn't watch the whole thing, but I didn't watch 3. He's not affiliated with 3, and not because my friend's not affiliated with part 3, but because I'm not my brother Mike, Necro shout out to Necromaniacs podcast, my brother Mike. Yes, I have a lot of brothers. Draper's just one of 17, I think I have, right, TT, brothers? Um, I have a lot of brothers, a lot of them, bigger than the Von Erichs. But and thank God my brothers are all here. Um, my brother is a big horror connoisseur. My brother Mike, he hosts Necromaniacs with a guy named Mike Hill. And my brother, surprisingly, and he posted on Facebook, I think people were blown away. He's like, I am done with movies like Terrifier. And I said, I know why my brother's saying that, because that movie is all about gross, heinous kills, just ripping people apart,
Yeah.
and entrails, private parts, removing teeth, schlock and shock. I'm kind of done with it too. I get storyline and character development, caring about the people that he's killing, caring about the characters. I'm kind of done too, guys, when it comes to stuff like that. A Violent Nature, another movie that I thought I was going to like because I'm a big slasher fan. I'm a big fan of slasher movies. But again, that movie was all about ripping a girl from asshole to fucking neck bone. And it's just like, I'm not. I'm not feeling it. And I get what my brother Mike was saying. I knew when he posted, everyone's like, Mike, you didn't like Terrifier 3? He's like, I'm done with these kind of fucking shock and gore movies. It's like watching, it's almost like perverse in a
Yeah.
way.
That's what it sounds
It,
like.
it is, DT. It's like, let me like slowly cut the earlobe off this person. It's
Yeah.
just like,
Why would you
oh,
want
come
to see
on.
that? Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like, yeah, no, I mean, literally, they were like going through a girl's vagina in one of the movies, not Terrified, but another movie, and it's like, yeah, this is, I don't want to see this. I
Yeah.
just give me storyline. Why the first Halloween was successful, guys? You didn't. It's what you didn't see. Even in Jaws, in the beginning, the kills, it's what you didn't see. Psycho, the original Psycho shower scene, you didn't actually see the stabbing. You saw the blood running into the water. And again, it's what you didn't see. It's the psychological thrill. Gore kills for the sake of gore kills, and let's cut the clitoris off this girl. I mean, it's like, come on. I mean, I don't want to see this, and I Terrifier, to me, that guy's never replacing Freddy Krueger or whatever. God bless, they made a lot of money at the theater, but I don't think they're going to become iconic like Freddy Krueger, Michael Myers, Jason. I don't even think that guy, Art the Clown, is going to be in the conversation 20 years from now. I mean,
Yeah.
knock on wood, I'm still around. I'll gladly DT if we're still here, old men. We'll do a horror podcast on Halloween and talk about it. But yeah, guys, I feel the way my brother does. My brother Mike says that. It was funny. I guess sometimes brothers do think alike. My brother John loved it. My brother Mike is like, I'm done with movies like that. I won't even review them anymore. So I was like, wow, I feel the same way. And it was about 50-50 on Facebook when I talked about it. So it was about 50-50.
Yeah, I absolutely will not see it. And yeah, I was just telling everybody about this vivid dream I had last night. You would have thought that that movie would have been playing in the background. I'm Kev. I swear to you, in my lifetime, I don't think I've ever dreamt stuff like that before. And I just, for some reason, the only thing I could think of is that maybe like in the background, somebody was like cooking a turkey for Thanksgiving and carving it up. And somehow my brain like interpreted like, oh, let me just kill people and stick knives up their asses. I was like, this is kind of
Yeah, it's
like a
just
little
like,
strange. I've
no, I
never
mean,
dreamt
listen,
that before.
right, and killing people is a grimy, gross business. I mean, exactly. I mean, serial killer, and you hear Jeffrey Dahmer and all that stuff. But I think,
Yeah.
but when there's no, you don't care about the people that they're killing, and it's just random girl walking in alley, let's decapitate her for the fuck of it.
Yeah.
It's just to me, and I guess listen, I'm getting older and I care more about what I'm watching. I don't want to waste any more time that I have left. You know what I'm saying, DT? I get life's too short to spend 3 hours and go, oh, that's 3 hours I can't get back. At 56, has a lot more meaning than it did at 26. So yeah, but I love a listen again. Psycho, Jaws, all the classics, guys. Name them. And you go to yourself, yeah, that wasn't really kind of gross out. It was scary, and we didn't really see anything. It's kind of what we didn't see. I
Yeah.
mean, go. Michael Myers didn't pull any entrails out of
It,
anybody in the first Halloween.
it toyed with your emotions, not with your fascinations.
That's perfect meaning. But I still don't get it twisted. I love horror, and still love scary movies, from ghost stories to slashers. I just want a good story, almost like wrestling, guys. Look at it like wrestling. I want it to make sense.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Speaking of making sense or it doesn't, WrestleMess says the best gimmick in wrestling is whatever Tony Khan is doing. Listen, I said this yesterday. I'm giving the man credit for now because he's not talking like a petulant child. I mean, we're just waiting for, like him getting dealt bad weed and he just in a bad bitchy mood and he writes something stupid about WWE. Even his response about the ID program, I thought was a rather good one. I can't criticize much right now. I did say yesterday he looked like a deer in headlights on Fox Business, but maybe he's growing up a little bit. I don't know. I mean, he's 40 something years old. It's not like he's 19 and he's just learning. You're setting your ways by this time. But I mean, honestly, I give him some credit that he has been better the last couple of months. It's interesting that the minute Bryan Danielson leaves, like Tony Khan ends up becoming a little bit of a better person, which is a little strange, the
Yeah.
timing. But if people look it up, you'll see like during the time Bryan Danielson was around, I don't know why, but Tony Khan was just this absolute childish bitch all the time. And then
It's
Bryan
true.
Danielson leaves, and so does, a lot of the stupid shit that Tony Khan is saying. So it's just
Strange.
coincidence, guys. We got I hate using the terms because we're older guys now. It comes off creepy, but DJ
Okay.
did send in the 2-spot. Fuck, marry, kill.
Okay.
Lola Vice, Mandy Rose, Trish Stratus.
Oh Jesus, you're
And you
killing
got
me.
to
I like all.
choose them from
Oh
today.
no.
Yeah, you got not in their primes.
Fuck Mary Kill. Was it Mandy Rose,
Lola
Trish?
Vice and
Well,
Trish Stratus.
three of my favorites.
Yep.
Wow, that's tough. That is really tough. I would say that's $1 million question, not a $2 question, DT. No, again, forgive me for the person who has to be killed. Lola
One night
Vice.
stand. We'll say that instead of
Yeah,
F.
yeah, Lola Vice. Uh, marry uh, Trish Stratus. I think she's with the same fucking
I'm
guy for 30
I'm
years.
agreeing with you. I'm agreeing
And
with you.
kill and Mandy Rose, I love you, and I think your husband's pretty cool too. I support your podcast, but I'm gonna have to kill Mandy. I hate to say that Italian girl from New York.
Now,
Sorry, I got more loyalty to Trish than Mandy. Sorry, Mandy.
we should come out with one like this in the future. Like let's say Mandy Rose, Eva Marie, and who's someone else we don't like that's a woman in wrestling. Eva Marie, and nothing personal. Eva Marie,
I don't mind.
Mandy.
I don't mind Eva Marie. I don't mind Eva Marie.
All
I
right,
don't mind her. I'll go
let's.
with who I don't like in wrestling. Uh, what girl annoys me in wrestling? I'll be honest with you. Sonya Deville annoys me. Uh,
All right, Sonya Deville,
she,
Mandy Rose, and why don't we keep it in the family and we go with oh wait, no, I was thinking of Ruby Riott, but that's Liv Morgan. That's
okay.
not Sonya Deville.
Yeah.
No, the only reason why I said is we could do one in the future.
Lacey Evans. Lacey Evans. There you go. That's a
Okay.
good one.
Lacey Evans, Mandy Rose, and Sonya Deville. Terrifier 1, Terrifier 2, and Terrifier 3. That's how they get taken out. I'm 100% agree with you. One night stand, Lola Vice. I would marry Trish Stratus.
Yeah,
I'm an
sure,
older
you married
guy,
Trish.
so I could
Yeah.
kind of relate more.
And
I
Trish
don't
is
think
loyal as fuck, man. The same guy for 30
she's got
years. She's with
money.
the same guy. and she's got money. But I'll be honest with you, DT, Lola Vice would probably kill me. Like literally, that sexual romp with Lola Vice, I'd probably be on oxygen. I'd probably be
You'll
dead.
look like Jay Cargill on the windshield of the car.
Lola Vice kills Kev Castle in sex romp.
Oh
Oh my
man,
god.
you'd have bruises everywhere.
Oh my
I
god.
couldn't deal with Mandy Rose being on her OnlyFans or whatever that is. I couldn't deal with that. I mean, I couldn't be
Yeah, no, no.
married to someone.
I think we're gonna see. I think we're gonna see her back in WWE. By the way,
Oh yeah, I do too.
I think she's coming back.
I think you have to. I mean, I know it's not happening now, but since Gigi Dolan is back in the ring, I think you
Yeah.
eventually have to have Gigi Dolan and JC Jane reunite. Toxic Attraction still to this day is a team that I can't believe they didn't get to the fucking main roster and become tag champs. Like
Yeah,
that
it's
that's a
a shame.
team that I look back in the last 10 years and I'm like, yeah, if someone says to me, pick a team that should have gone farther, I would have gone with Toxic Attraction, you know.
Yeah, and I think Mandy's got unfinished business, and she'll be back. She's married now. I think she's done with that fan shit. I think she's done because she's not doing that. I'm not calling it a sex video, but that kind of risque video at Lacey Evans and Dana Brooke.
Yeah,
Mandy's not taking part in that, and I think that's because Mandy's coming back to WWE.
yeah. RJ the Brooklyn Savage just want to stop by, show some love to the OGs.
Oh,
Loves
what's
the
up, RJ?
shows.
Love RJ's a cool dude, man. Love that dude.
Yeah. And he's picking up a shirt soon. Much love, my friend.
Oh, thank you, RJ.
Thank you very much for that. Thank you. Thank you, RJ. Much appreciated. I know he's a big supporter of what we do and good,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
much love. Don, have we heard of the hater on YouTube? He pretty much hates on things in wrestling, but makes very valid points. Very hilarious.
No, but I'll check it out. Never heard of
I'll
him.
check it out. The only guy, and I know I'm very outdated when I say this, but I started watching the last couple of months after all these years, the Angry Video Game Nerd. I don't know if you
I've
ever
never
saw
seen
his
it.
videos.
Nah, no, never
I
seen that.
never saw his videos, and it popped up on my feed as a suggestion. And this guy just complains and he curses and he like criticizes all these video games. And I think it's fucking hilarious, man. Didn't we have like
Check it out.
Wrestling Jesus or something? Wasn't that like a big hater wrestling back in the day? Used to yell and complain all the time.
Can't remember. There was a few guys. If you bring up their names, I'm like, yeah, like whatever happened to a lot of whatever happened to people from back then. Yeah.
Yeah, but no, Don, I'm definitely going to check it out. I mean, I'm always curious to see, like, you know, especially how haters like become so successful on YouTube. I mean,
Oh,
I
let's
just
say
don't.
JD from New York. Let's say our
Well,
friend JD.
but you see, the difference with JD is JD wants things to get better. He
Well, I'm
doesn't
just
just
kidding.
hate the
I know.
hate. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm no, I know. I know. I'm just joking.
listen, I'm sure he's kind of like the Al Sharpton of wrestling. Like, hey, you know, I want wrestling to stay fucked up because then I could like pick out the things that are wrong and, you know, suggest what should be better. You know, if everything in wrestling is great, it kind of like fucks up everybody's content, so to speak. If we're being honest, forget it. Bischoff would be done.
No, no, no.
I even think Vince Russo
True.
would be done. You know, there's only so many times you could talk about, oh, this is why I fired Disco Inferno. Like, with all due respect, nobody cares in 2024. Even though I
That's
like
true.
Disco Inferno's podcast, I like all the stuff he does with Conan. So, and
Shout out
Shneezy.
to Conan. I heard Conan really almost bought the farm, so to speak,
Yeah,
last couple of weeks. He just came back. I listened to his podcast yesterday. He's always cool to me. I know he's cool to you. So shout out to Charles Conan, who had a 30-day hospital stint, and he
yep.
really again came close. You to meeting death for a couple of times for this guy. He was really, really ill, and I think it was, and I'm getting this right. It was a real bad bout of diverticulitis that
Yes, it
affected his
was.
brain. That
Yeah.
affected his brain, and he was telling us. I listened to the full episode yesterday with him and Joe. Shout out to Joe Feeney. He's cool. Joe's
Yeah, sure.
along with this disco, always cool to us. But yeah, man, Conan's cat, man, he's got those 9 lives, man. He's had a lot of health issues. He's always bounced back. So good to see him back. I enjoy that podcast. Those are guys who speak their mind and don't like, but they got a lot of people who do like it. So they, in a way, we're kind of a lateral thing with them, and they've been together for years too. DT, they've been in this for a long time.
Yeah. before I say something about Conan, Walt, when I say that JD's like the Al Sharpton of wrestling, I say that as a compliment. You had to hear the show earlier. Like what I was saying earlier is that Al Sharpton needs racial tensions because that's how Al Sharpton makes his money. You know, if everybody got along and there was peace in the world, there'd be a lot of people out of a job. So JD, you know, the negativity with AEW and stuff like that is good for his content because he spots what sucks and vents about it and has the balls to say it, has the audience to hear it, and has the attention of the promotions. See, when we complain or smaller places complain, these people, you know, in the promotion, like, nobody pays attention to that shit. They're just old, out of touch. With JD, though, they're like, hey, wait a minute. You know, look at all these people that are tuning into his show. He must be onto something. Maybe he is right. Maybe
he connects with a lot of people, and I think that like his passion is genuine. Where a guy like
I respect JD big time, man.
Flim fam, and JD a big apple head, so he's not a big apple head.
He cares about wrestling. Listen, that guy is one of the biggest wrestling fans.
Head. Oh my God.
You can't fake, you know, that passion. But so about Conan, you know, the thing that scared me the most about what he said was, you know, like him when it affected his brain, because, you know, I was talking to somebody the other day, and and we'll pretty much start bringing this home. I was talking to somebody the other day that has a father that's dealing with Alzheimer's. And, you know, little by little, he's starting to forget everything. And, you know, we were talking about brain stuff like that. And I had heard what Conan had said, you know, about his illness and, you know, how he was forgetting things. And this guy I was talking to said something that stuck with me. And, you know, for anybody out there that ever knows someone who's dealing with Alzheimer's, or if you're ever afraid of getting diagnosed it, or, you know, just anything about it, if it ever enters your life, the scariest thing about it and the best way to understand what it does to your brain is, and this is how I could describe it. How many times do you sleep and you're dreaming about whatever, your family, your cat, your job, concerts, people you idolize, crazy stories, fantasies, whatever it is, you dream. You wake up, and the minute you wake up, you still remember everything about that dream. But then 5 minutes later, you're like, fuck, what did I dream about? I can't remember. And that's what happens with Alzheimer's and things with the brain like that. Like you'll remember something, and then 5-10 minutes away, it's 10 minutes later, it's taken away from you. And, you know, they hear Conan, you know, like having to learn how to talk again and shit. It's like, man, that just goes to show you, like, and it all started because he couldn't take a shit. He was constipated.
Yeah, no, I know. It's terrible.
It's crazy. So glad he's back.
Check it out. It's Scoop Clip. It's labeled Conan's Return. Guys can check it out. It's like a 30 segment. They're all about his experience there.
Yeah. We got 3 more, and we're gonna jet everybody. Jimmy Fingers with a 20 spot. Old school guys, before Snuka got into trouble, do you think he should have been the one to take the title off of Backlund in the steel cage and MSG? That was 1982. Photo of the year, Pro Wrestling Illustrated. They still could have had Sheik take it off of him to set up Hogan as planned. Snuka was my favorite wrestler of all time until Terry Funk came along. For me. The thing with Snuka is this, Jimmy, from what I remember. Jimmy Snuka was the most over guy in the WWF. In 1982, he was still a heel. He was with Albano. He was still a heel when he feuded with Backlund, but the fans were starting to dig him. And then they, little by little, were doing a storyline where Albano was using Snuka and treating him like shit and taking him for his money. And then ultimately, Ray the Crippler Stevens turned on him in 83. Then it led to Morocco, and it was a conspiracy because Albano was with Morocco, and then it led to the infamous steel cage match that Foley was influenced by. Then he feuded with Morocco and then didn't win the IC belt. That was 1983. Hogan
I
came
was at
around
so
and
many of those matches, DT. By the way, the rematch,
yeah,
the steel cage. I was at the match that he had with Ray Stevens, the grudge match that he had with Ray
it was
Stevens.
amazing,
So I got to see so many. I was at the Garden like every month, 82 and
amazing.
83.
Yeah,
My poor
but the
father.
thing
My
is,
poor father.
hey, he was happy you guys had a great time.
He got to read a lot of newspapers. My father. He
Well,
sat
the
there reading
bottom line
Newsday.
is Hogan came in '84. Snooker and Backlund was 82. So it's too much of a time difference. And honestly, by the time 84 came around, even before Snooker had these troubles,
Right.
he was still older. And I don't think, when they were going to the Rock and Wrestling Connection and going to MTV, like Snooker didn't have that kind of charisma or even verbiage that he could like be like a crossover in MTV. He was not that guy. So no, I don't think Snuka should have beaten Backlund for the title. We wanted to
Yeah.
see it happen in 82 and it didn't happen. We wanted to see him beat Morocco in the cage in 83 and it didn't happen. But by
Nope.
84, yeah,
That
Snuka
that
was
that
not
that
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 guy.
incident and also that incident in between that at DT also happened with Nancy Argento.
Yeah. But
So
even if
yeah.
that incident didn't happen, he was not that guy that would have been a focal point for the Rock and Wrestling Connection. It wouldn't have happened.
No, he couldn't. He couldn't talk. Yeah, he couldn't
No.
talk.
He would have people. Can you imagine him on TV? All the hosts would have been looking like, "What did he say?"
Thanks, brother. Thanks, brother.
Yeah.
Thanks, brother.
Oh boy. Um. Thank you, Jimmy. Theme parks and things
Thanks,
with
man.
Johnny. Bringing the boom. The double chocolate chip cookie. Hope you guys are doing well. Thank you for the
Thank you.
escape. Much blessings to both of us. Well, thank you for that, Johnny. Much love.
Thanks, John. Thanks, John.
And thank you for hanging out tonight, guys. And we also want to thank, and I saved this for last because it's a 20 spot, and all he just wanted to do is thank us for all of the content over the years. This is my design, Horror Collections, I think his name is. Horror Collectibles.
Okay.
That's who it is. Thank you for the 20 spot. Love the shows, DT and Kev. Fan and patron for years. Keep it up. You guys are the best. And just again, you guys awesome tonight. I mean, my God, 3.5 hours.
Did
And
we did we miss one? I could have sworn there was like a question with the tattoo thing. I was at the
um
top when we first went on the air. There's a couple of people. I just don't
well,
want to miss
you know
anybody
what it
because I
was?
was reading it now, and it was something about
I know
tattoos.
what it was. It was a
Oh, do you?
post that was posted this afternoon, and listen, it's not about super chats, guys, but if you
Okay. I
post
didn't know if it was
early
super chat.
enough, and sometimes it disappears because the show starts live and only the super chats stay registered. But I do remember the
Oh,
question somebody wanted to ask as far as how many tattoos you had.
oh,
And
okay.
like he wanted to know a little bit about your tattoos. So we could definitely close out with that. Whoever it was, I mean, was kind enough to send it early today. I think that was
Yes.
the first thing that was written. It was about tattoos. Wanted to know, like, what kind of ink you have.
I have 1 million tattoos. Now I don't even know how
That's
many
not
I
that
have, but
far
like
off.
over 100 maybe. Oh, what was the most painful one? That's what I remember. That's what he asked me.
Okay, okay.
What was the most painful one? The most meaningful one and the painful one are the same. Actually, one and the same. It's the TCB that I have on my neck. I got from 2014. My father died. It's a combination of an Elvis thing, taking care of business. I know it's also very gang oriented because I get that all the time. Because a lot of biker crews have TCB with along with like a percenter thing kind of
People
on their
look on
neck.
the
So,
YouTube graphic right now. They could see it under your
yeah,
neck.
yeah, and the stars next to it. My father was a sergeant in the army, was so the stars are army stars from a sergeant rank that my father was. So I got that to change it up a little bit. and just I made it red because it just my brother's got it kind of in black and white. I just wanted it colored so it stood out more, and also I knew my neck, and even the tattoo artist says, the movement of your neck and the motions and talking and stuff, it's going to fade a lot quicker. So, I mean, I really got it. That was painful. I mean, in my tattoo, shout out to Kev Fat Cat, who's now on tour with Murphy's Law overseas. He's my tattoo artist who did it, and Kev lays in big time, like into the tattoo. He's a big guy, and he just like it was just. I thought the needle was literally going to go through my esophagus. I mean,
Right.
seriously, I got it there. And the reason people ask me why'd you get it there, because my father had esophageal cancer, and that's where your esophagus connects. So that's the location of there. And I figured my philosophy was my father suffered greatly there. I could suffer for 2 hours getting a tattoo in his memory. So
Wow.
in other words, that was kind of like the way I figured. I know my brothers, I think, were all mad because they got it on their forearm or their leg or shoulder, and I went extremes like you have to one up us, of course. I go no, I just this is what I was going to do because we were showing we all the brothers got it, and they all got it in different areas. But I really went all out and got it. And I remember everyone was just like, kind of like, no, that's commitment. I was like, well, in fairness, getting a tattoo anywhere is commitment. But yeah, that's the most painful and most meaningful, one and the same. So that question could be answered. As far as how many I have, I stopped counting. I mean, it's over 100. I mean, if you put them all together, and they're all pieced together. Um, how much did I spend on over the years? Thousands. When you put it all together. I mean, I don't know, it wasn't hundreds, it was thousands. But tattoos, I started in '91. I mean, a tattoo back in 1991. My first tattoo I paid $150 for. My most expensive tattoo I paid $700 for. So it all adds up over the years. But
What's the
yeah,
first
thanks for the
tattoo you
question.
got?
The first tattoo I got, I was going out with this girl, Anna, and she convinced me to get a tattoo. I got a tattoo, honestly, like most young guys in their late teens, early 20s,
Tramp stamp?
because she no, she had one, and she wanted you were getting it, and she's like, I couldn't figure out what to get, and she's like, well, you're into, I was into this band called The Cult, and they had a thing called, they had a slogan, Heart, Soul, Rock and Roll. So I got Heart, Soul, Rock and Roll. It's a sword going through a heart with blood dripping down. It says Heart, Soul, Rock and Roll on it. And it's got my initials, KS. My real last name's not Castle, obviously. And I still have it. I got it touched up over the years. That was my first one, July 1991, when it was illegal, and we had to meet someone in an alley to take us through a building to go to a connecting building to go to an illegal tattoo shop in
Oh shit.
Chinatown. 1991, tattoos were outlawed. Look it up, guys. In the early
I did
90s,
not know
tattoos were
that.
illegal.
Wow.
Yeah, look it up. Tattoos were illegal in the early 90s here, the mid 90s when it came into licensing. So totally, it was like going to a brothel. I mean, I remember just, hey, the guy in the hat in the alley in the red hat, follow him. I remember Anna's like, this is like not cool because she got hers done in California at an outside place. And I was going through this kind of, buildings. We didn't know where the fuck we were at one point. And then I wound up, and the guy who did my tattoo, his name is Emil Gupta, and he's one of the most famous tattoo guys in the world now. A meal to sit down with him will cost you 2K right off the bat to even fucking get a small tattoo from him. Guy gets 10 grand sometimes for pieces. Paul Booth, one who did Undertaker's tattoos, and Anil Gupta are the two most famous tattoo people in the place. I got a meal as an apprentice. He was working with this guy Wes, this biker dude, and Emil was just starting out. He just came to this country. I think he's from Pakistan. And Emil was just starting out, and I got him cheap, and he was basically practicing on me, and he was cool, and he look him up. He's one of the most revered tattoo guy. I couldn't remotely afford him now, but it would be a thrill to run into him again and say, "Remember these?" Like, and maybe he would remember. Maybe
Yeah.
he would remember. He would remember. I was the guy. He won't remember me, but I'll say the cute redhead girl looked like Lita from the WWE. Oh, I remember her. So I'd be like, he'll probably remember. He'll remember my girlfriend. He won't remember me. But yeah, that's a true story, guys. A guy who did my first few tattoos, world famous now. I mean, travels to do. He's basically the Rock of tattoo artists, along with Paul Booth, two of the top guys in the world. Emil Gupta.
Wow.
So shout out to him. I mean, I saw him. Didn't see him physically, but I saw him in a magazine article not too long ago, and it's just amazing. Like when, almost like in wrestling, you start out with somebody, and you start out, and they're just, trainee, and they're just practicing on you, and it's like, oh, and remember, someone was looking over him, was like, all right, now do this outline, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, it's almost like when you go to a dentist DT, and it's like the dental student's first day, and
Yes,
he's
yes,
like in your mouth, and it's like, and you're like to the dentist, you're gonna do the surgery though, right? Well, yeah, he's gonna assist. He's gonna assist. Don't worry, he's good. This is my prize student. So that was the deal. It was a guy named Wes, and Emil worked for him, and that's 100% true. 100% true story.
90s is asking, is it Emil Cooperman? Is that his name?
No,
Cooperman?
Gupta,
Gupta.
Gupta,
Gupta.
Gupta.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gupta. Oh, that great story, man. Great. I have no tattoos. I have scars, but I don't have tattoos.
Yeah, I would have figured you would have got one over the years.
I would
Like
have
if, like
gotten
when you were
one.
when you were growing up. When you were growing up.
Honestly, if I would have ever got one, I've thought about it before. I would have gotten one either in tribute to my parents or in tribute to my dog, Peanut. But I
Yeah,
never
that's what I would
went.
have figured. Maybe something like a tattoo, like a paw print or something like that, which
Yeah,
a lot of
never,
my
never went
brother
ahead
my
with
brother
it.
has that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
never went ahead with it. But well, guys, just to let you know, we probably should have let everybody know at the beginning of the show, but we got plenty of time to hype it up. When are we going to do the next one of these? Well, we're going to do it right before Christmas.
Christmas. Yeah.
And that will be Sunday night, December 22nd,
Oh, that's
2024.
graphic. I love that. I
Yeah, I
love
got to
that
fix
graphic.
the 8 p.m. I don't know what the fuck happened over there, but yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Originally we had it reversed. I had the ears on Kev and the beard on me, and it just didn't look right. And then I was playing around with the colors, and I was like, no, that this looks better. So,
Yeah.
So Kevin and I will be live on YouTube again Sunday night, December 22nd at 8 p.m. We'll definitely be talking Christmas. Definitely be sharing a lot of old school Christmas stories. We are planning. So that has a lot of discussion. So,
Yeah, they're
it's
asking me. I think that guy is at Incline Studio. I got to look him up on Instagram. When I went to the place, I mean, this place is long gone. I think that building was demolished in Chinatown. The place that I went to was called Kaleidoscope, but you're talking about 33 years ago.
yeah.
But yeah, I think he has his own place now. I'm not sure where he is, but yeah, that's the guy. He looks like an Indian version of George Lopez, basically.
I'll tell you,
If George
that's
Lopez
awesome.
was from Pakistan. Yeah.
That's awesome that his hands are strong enough that he could be doing it 30 years later.
Yeah, no, dude, tattooing is, if you're like a top artist, you can make bank. I think he's one of the wealthiest guys in tattooing next to Paul Booth. Yeah.
Wow. Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, it's kind of cool little tidbits and trivia of people's past.
Nice. Well, Kev, I think we'll call it because we're going to be back tomorrow, less than 24 hours from now, right after Raw.
That's right.
Kevin and I will be live on our Discord channel, dtkcdiscord.com. We will see what happens on Raw. We'll see the progression. This will be the final Raw leading into Survivor Series. And we'll see if there's any storyline shifts or swerves. If you tuned into the news report yesterday, we came up with a little controversy with CM Punk, which I don't think is going to happen, but it's going to be interesting to see the interaction tomorrow night between CM Punk and Seth Rollins, which I think will happen. I think that's what we need to look out for on Monday night, but anything could happen tomorrow. We'll see, and we'll talk about it after Raw.
Absolutely. 10:15. Well,
Yes.
10:15 till the end of the year, pretty much, right, DT?
Yeah, 10:15 to the end of the year, and then we'll see what happens. I mean, I do, like we said last week, the first Raw will be 3 hours. So we'll be prepared for 11:15. Will it remain 3 hours again? I think so, because I think that's what Netflix is commanding. But, until they make it official, nobody truly knows. So
What's the official start date of the Netflix era?
January 4th, I believe it is. I'll tell you right now.
January
it
5th
is
again?
January 6th. Oh, January 6th, my dad's birthday. January
nice.
6th. Yeah. I mean,
January 6th.
remember January 6th, what happened with Trump, and that was my dad's birthday. and that infamous video that I have from Judge Janine Pirro, that if I ever made it publicly, she probably would be fired from the five.
Oh, Jesus
Yeah,
Christ.
I'll tell you, close it out really quick. I think I don't know if I ever told you this. My father was in the hospital for the triple bypass surgery right before his birthday, and I wanted to send him, like a get well. So Judge Janine Pirro was on Cameo. So I sent her a message. I said, listen, my father's birthday is on January 6th. He's a big fan of your work. Would you send him a get well? And she responds back. She's like, what happened? And I told her about the heart surgery and everything. She's like,
Oh, wow.
email me at this email address. So I emailed her all the information, and she wouldn't take a penny for it. She recorded the video for my dad. So we
Oh,
didn't do it.
wow. That's nice.
Yeah. But the funny thing about it was she recorded it on January 6th. And she was wishing my father happy birthday. And during the video, she says, it is terrible what they're doing to Trump today and this and that. And she was like, kind of supporting January 6th. And I got it on video. And I'll play you the video privately and let you see it. And you'll when you see it, you'll be like, there's no way you could ever make that public, because, everything was going down with the insurrection. And, yeah, she was kind of like on the side of the insurrection.
Well,
which is pretty
it's
wild.
funny. I can say this now because Vince is gone and the company doesn't do this anymore. But I have a video from Cross, right? That remember when people weren't allowed to do anything without WWE's permission, and Vince
Yes.
changed everybody's Cameo, and he made a video for Trez and Danny, my partner on the KNT. You guys from Patreon know Trez, Mary. And so Cross, couldn't do a video, so he found a way around the loophole of the rules at the time and did this video in his car for Trez and for Daddy. As the funniest fucking video of him wishing them good luck on the. And he's telling Trez, what kind of name is that? What are you, a gang member? What are you, a female gang member? And it was just fucking funny as hell. And I could say it, and for the longest time I had to keep that under lock. And Cross like, don't tell anybody I did that for you. But now it's like, the rules have changed and it's complete. That was his last contract. He's in a new contract.
Yeah.
It's nothing that can hurt him now. But I have the video, and I think one day I'll ask him before I post it. But maybe, and again, for you Patreons, these are the things that you guys can see. These are little extra tidbits. I'm going to write him a quick note and say I want to show that to people now because it's old and the rules have changed and it's a different deal now. And he'll probably say yeah, and then I could show it to you guys on Patreon on Castle Chronicles of KNT, posted in the chat for you guys. Once I just out of respect, what I'm saying, say I'm gonna show people that. But that's funny that you're saying you have a video too. I've held on to this since 2020.
That's
So when he first came into the company, so it's funny, right? It's like,
that's
yeah,
awesome.
he's like, he's kind of cutting a promo on Trez. He goes, what kind of name is that? And she's like, your friend Kevin gave it to me. So yeah, it was fun.
I'm looking at my videos now to see if I could find it, and I can't find it. So I think it's in my computer. I don't think it's in my phone. But yeah, I'm looking at, because it was interesting, because as I'm going back and looking at these pictures, my father was, when he was released from the hospital, we went like 10 days later to get the COVID shot for the first time. And, there was a lot of uncertainty, and they didn't know if my father should get the COVID shot so quickly after getting heart surgery. And he ended up getting the first jab 10 days after the heart surgery. But yeah, I'll definitely send you the video. You'll get a good laugh out of it. So
awesome. Yeah, and I'll send you. I got to send it to you.
Yeah, I got to see it. A good laugh. Yeah, we'll trade.
I'll try to tell. I'll send it to either tonight or tomorrow.
Okay. Kev, I'll talk to you tomorrow night, my friend.
Absolutely. And thank you, everybody, for tonight, man. It was a long trek, but fun, man. And
yeah.
got a lot of good questions.
I mean,
Christmas one will be even better. Christmas
will be even better. So talk to you tomorrow, buddy.
Thanks, DT.
All right. Take care.
Good. Peace.
All right, everybody. We're going to jet. I want to thank everybody for joining us. For those who are live that sat here for 3 hours and 40 minutes, seriously, pat yourself on the back. Round of applause to all of you out there. I don't have a sound effect for applause. I just got laughing. Yeah, that's all I got. That's all I got. So, but much love. For everybody checking this out on the replay, I hope you enjoyed it as well. I can honestly say this. Of all these special episodes that Kevin and I have done on YouTube, and it hasn't been many. Even last year we didn't do many on YouTube. We did very few. I think this one by far had the most questions that we've ever had to ever answer. And 3 hours and 40 minutes later, we could have probably still continued to go. But, it is approaching midnight over here, and I got to get this online. And, tomorrow got to work. And then we got tomorrow night Raw. So it's a lot to ask for everyone to ingest 3 hours and 40 minutes. But, I honestly think from minute one to the final minute of this episode, great conversation. That's one thing that comes so easy for Kevin and I, because we're just being real. There's no, we might be a little bit too relaxed and say a couple of things we might regret later on, especially on my side. But, we have fun, and that's the most important thing. And shout out to all of you that hung out tonight. Great questions, great feedback. And let me tell you something, when I do play this back, I do check out a lot of the chat to see what some of you were saying also. We always look and view the feedback and see some of your reactions. So some of your stories that you guys said earlier that you think might have been overlooked, trust me, we'll be watching it back on the replay. And that's why I always keep a video version of this online, especially when we post it on Patreon. This way, everybody could see like a little bit of a transcript of the chat, because there's a lot of great shit that pops up in the chat as well. It's just that when you have so many people talking at the same time, obviously you can't get everybody's in there, but great show, everybody. Maggie says it's 4:44 where she's at right now. That is humbling, because they ain't nothing. Trust me. And I don't mean to sound perverse here, but my wife could wake me up at 4:44 in the morning wanting to do something, and I'd be like, no, we could wait 12 hours. No, thank you. They ain't nothing. Other than maybe having to take a pee at 4:44 in the morning, ain't nothing that's going to get me out of bed. So unless somebody hits the fire alarm. But guys, girls, women, men, they, them, however you identify yourself, have a good one. Much love. And we'll catch you all again, hopefully Monday night after Raw. DTKCDiscord.com. It's free. Hang out. We'll have some fun tomorrow night. Be well.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a podcaster. For me to live any other way was nuts. To me, those goody-good people who worked shitty jobs for bum paychecks and took the subway to work every day and worried about their bills were dead. I mean, they were suckers. They had no balls. If I wanted something, I just took it. I ran everything. I paid the bills. I paid the host. I even paid the masked maniac. Everybody had their hands out. Everything was for the taking. We always called each other good fellas. You would always hear from somebody. You're gonna like Don Tony. He's all right. He's a good fella. He's one of us. But if you're part of my crew, nobody ever tells you they're gonna get rid of you. It doesn't happen that way. There weren't any arguments or curses like in the movies. See, your haters come with smiles. They come as your friends, the people who've claimed they care the most for your life. And now that's all over. And that's the best part. Today everything is different. There's lots of action. I don't have to wait around for everything like everyone else. Oh, I didn't get the vaccine? Fuck you, vaccine me. Oh, your delivery guy has COVID? Fuck you, feed me. Right after I moved here, I ordered egg noodles and ketchup, and I got spaghetti with meat sauce. I'm no longer an average nobody, while they get to live the rest of their lives like a bunch of schnooks.